This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Baker Mayfield's QB1 in Tampa Bay. Buccaneers announced that Mayfield won the starting job over Kyle Trask. He prevailed in part because of his starting experience. The Bucs are Mayfield's fourth team since being drafted first overall in 2018. Colts seeking significant return in a potential Jonathan Taylor trade. Team gave him permission to seek a trade. ESPN's Stephen Holder reports Indy's asking for a first-round pick or multiple draft picks that would be the equivalent of a first-round pick for the all-pro running back. ESPN NFL analyst Damian Woody.
Saquon Barkley couldn't get paid. Josh Jacobs couldn't get paid. What team is going to trade for Jonathan Taylor, who's coming off an injury-riddled season last year? Not only do you got to give the team compensation, but you also got to pay the player. Who's doing that in this running back market?
Damian Woody on ESPN Radio Afternoons. Taylor's on the PUP list after offseason ankle surgery. Today's Eagles-Colts joint practice cut short after a sideline clearing brawl. It started when Eagles center Jason Kelce blindsided Indy linebacker Zaire Franklin at the end of a play.
The new Venture X card from Capital One. Earn 10x miles on hotels and rental cars and 5x miles on flights when you book through Capital One Travel, plus 2x miles on all other purchases. Capital One. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
That's right.
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR powered by Sunshine, your Louisiana hometown. Your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
And Mr. Toby Tumplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Man, we got a lot to get to today. Saints and Tigers both back on the practice field later this afternoon. Some film study with Maddy Hudak in about 15 minutes. Larry the Liar Holder, 1 hour from right now. Dude better be bringing whiskey, otherwise he will fall into the category that no-good yellow-belly coward Dwayne from Thibodeau. We got a lot to do, but let us begin as we do every single day right here on AFR.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Another day, another sort of a preseason list of accolades. Today, our friends over at On3 came out with their preseason All-America list for true freshmen. Preseason true freshman All-American list. So, not red shirts, not transfers, guys who have yet to play a snap. They're taking a shot at guessing who the true freshman All-Americans will be. And they do list 2 LSU Tigers. So I thought this would be a really good opportunity for me to tell you what true freshmen I think will have the biggest impact on this Tiger team. First, though, On3 list, this isn't a giant surprise, pun intended. Zalance Hurd, they do list as one of the true freshman All-Americans. Brian Kelly, back on National Signing Day, said this about Lance Hurd.
I like Zalance Hurd. I like his personality. He's extremely confident, believes in what he's doing and what he can do for this program. And then we put him through the ringer now, and we got eyes on him, and we watched him and watched him. We put him through the ringer, and he passed every test for us. So feel great about him being in the program.
More on Hurd in just a quick second. The other preseason true freshman All-American from On3, and I disagree with this one wholeheartedly, is tight end Kamorian Pimpton.
Talent and a raw piece of clay.
Start over.
An unbelievable physical talent and a raw piece of clay that any tight end coach in America would love to have to work with. And he's got
the ability at already gaining probably 15 pounds since he's been here and getting to 245 as a true freshman, an opportunity to help in both areas of what we ask our tight ends to do, provided he continues to develop, and I believe he will.
So that was LSU offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock talking about how raw he is, a raw piece of clay, and he'll be able to contribute if he continues to develop. That doesn't sound like a guy that is plug and play, ready-made to go be a preseason, to go be a true freshman All-American. But I like Pimpton a lot. We'll get more to more him in just a quick second. So I looked at this from On3, their preseason true freshman All-America list. I said, let me take a stab at which players on this LSU team I think are going to have the biggest impact as true freshmen. Hit it, Muse, if you will. So I identified 5 LSU Tigers that I think, true freshmen, that are going to have the biggest impact on this team. Number 1 is one of the guys that On3 mentioned, and I agree, it's Lance Hurd. He is physically ready to go. One of the things we've questioned is, when LSU has a guy go down, do they plug in the number 2 at that position, or do they just take their 6th best lineman, put him on the field, and shuffle things to get your 5 best available? And what we saw on Saturday in that scrimmage was Miles Frazier come off, Lance Hurd went on, ran with the ones at right tackle, and Emory Jones kicked into right guard. I think that is what you will see if the Tigers end up shuffling a bit. I'll remind you, it wasn't until week 3 a year ago that Emory Jones became a starter. He got his first start against Mississippi State. Extended playing time week 2 against Southern. He was starting week 3, never relinquished it. You could see something similar from Lance Hurd if that offensive line struggles early and they're trying to get Hurd in. Week 2 against Grambling, week 3 against Mississippi State. Could be a similar path, something worth keeping an eye on, but I would be fall over stunned if Lance Hurd didn't play a whole bunch this year for LSU. Number 2 on the list is a tight end, but it's not Kamorian Pimpton. And I'm not trying to be salacious here, but from the first day we went out to fall camp, you could just tell that Mac Markway is built differently. And when we got to talk to Mike Denbrock a couple of weeks ago and I asked him about the tight ends, he gushed over one guy. Listen.
Mac Markway in particular has had the best camp so far as moving himself in a position to contribute to the team. Through a physicality standpoint, I think he's moving better in space. So there's some things that he can also give us in the passing game, which is welcome.
I'll remind you, Brian Kelly oftentimes has used 2 tight ends. In no better example during his time at Notre Dame than 2018. Alizé Mack was his pass catcher. Saints ended up drafting him, by the way. And Cole Kmet was the more inline blocker. Remember, he was a 2-way guy, also pitched for the baseball team. Alizé Mack had 36 catches. Cole Kmet had 15. They used them both. I think this is a year where, look, Mason Taylor is your pass-catching tight end. He is that guy. So who's going to be the inline blocker? I think Connor Gilbreth, the JUCO transfer, is going to be one of them. But if you're looking at a freshman, the best candidate is Mac Markway, and I think he's going to have a bigger impact on this offense than most are talking about. It's easy to be infatuated with Kamorian Pimpton's size and wingspan, and he may be a great goal line target, but if you put Pimpton on the field, who do you take off the field? Malik Neighbors, Kyron Lacey, Brian Thomas? It's a tough call with how you get Pimpton in the field. It's easy to see a path for Markway because he plays a different style of tight end. One other pass catcher that I think will be on the field is true freshman Shelton Sampson. And no, this is not a Homer Catholic High take. The bottom line is Sampson was a 5-star wide receiver, and what we have seen out there in fall camp so far is when they run, you've got your first 3 that everybody knows. You've got Malik Neighbors, Kyron Lacey, Brian Thomas. When the next unit rolls out there, the first guy is Chris Hilton, and then it is Shelton Sampson. I'm putting a little asterisk next to Aaron Anderson because yes, he's part of that as well, but he's going to affect the game in so many different ways. I'm talking about traditional split wide receivers, like on the boundary. Brian Kelly this is Mike Denbrock talking about Shelton Sampson's camp.
Gifted as any wide receiver we've got on the roster. He's swimming in the deep end right now, like a lot of the younger kids are. But when he knows what to do, and he is incredible athleticism, great catch radius, can run a lot better than people give him credit for. And I'm hoping that he that's just going to add to what we are if he can continue to come along.
I'll remind you, last year, your fifth wide receiver, not pass catcher, wide receiver, number 5 wide receiver, was Kyron Lacy. 24 catches for 268 yards. I think Shelton Sampson could very easily replicate the type of season Lacy had a year ago for the Tigers this year as a true freshman, which is why I have him third on the list. Fourth, somebody has to step up in the defensive backfield. They just have to. Javian Toviano would be a really good choice, but it's pretty clear that Ashton Stamps has had the better fall camp. When LSU runs their second unit corners out there, one side is LaTerrence Welch, the other side is freshman Ashton Stamps. He was a 3-star. 24/7 Sports didn't have him in a national, or wasn't in the top 1,000 nationally coming out of high school, but played at a perennial Plower and Rummel, a great program that's been a football factory that has churned dudes through this LSU program. It shouldn't be surprising that he was able to come and assimilate very well, and he got his body right. Also, Brian Kelly earlier in fall camp had this to say about the freshman corner.
Ashton's a true freshman who put on, a lot of weight. Many of you remember us recruiting him. He was a bit, I would say, underweight at the position for us. And we were excited about his competitiveness and his athleticism, but we challenged him to get after it in the weight room, and he certainly did in the offseason and then this summer, and he looks the part. He's doing a really good job as a true freshman.
Again, they need somebody to step up at cornerback after your first two guys. Also, what we've seen in fall camp is Ashton Stamps is on every single kick coverage unit. So he is going to make an impact in the secondary, but also in special teams. The fifth guy is a little bit of a wild card, and I have Whit Weeks on the list. Now, I know this coaching staff loves Whit Weeks. He's West Weeks' brother, yes, and it actually is pretty cool to see both Weeks brothers on the field with the second unit. So your starters are Harold Perkins and Omar Spates, and Greg Penn rotates in there as well, depending on if they're nickel or dime coverage. But when the twos went out there in that scrimmage on Saturday, it was West Weeks and Whit Weeks. Whit Weeks was here for the spring. If you remember, he had a pick 6 in that spring game in Tiger Stadium during the spring drills. So this is a guy they love. This is a guy who also is on every special teams unit. And there are going to be times, be it blowouts or otherwise, that Whit Weeks finds his way onto the field. Remember number 40, because that is a guy that is going to find a way to factor defensively and on special teams this year. Those are the 5 true freshmen I'm keeping an eye on, with honorable mention to Kamori and Pimpton, because I think he could make an impact in the red zone. Javian Toviano, who I mentioned as well, along with Ashton Stamps. I think Stamps has just had a better camp, but it wouldn't surprise me if Toviano did pop and be that guy. And the other honorable mention is the guy who you just can't ignore anymore after the day he had on Saturday, with Caleb Jackson having the 2 touchdowns in that scrimmage. By the way, look, Caleb Jackson looks like a linebacker playing running back. The one problem with Caleb Jackson is that he's one of 8 scholarship running backs. And when you look at that position, remember this weekend, you didn't have Josh Williams, Logan Diggs, or Amani Goodwin, 3 guys that I think are probably going to be the first 3 in that running back group. Jackson could end up affecting things significantly, but he's got a pretty steep hill to climb to get there. But he took a pretty significant step with that scrimmage on Saturday. Brian Kelly earlier in camp had this to say about the freshman from Liberty in Baton Rouge.
He's big, he's physical, he's strong, but he's raw. And so a lot of the work with Caleb is ball security, low pads, the nuances of the game, which, when you have a physical, I don't want to use the word, but just a guy that has that kind of prowess at the position, those are good things to work on, right? We don't have to worry about some of the other things. So it's just the details with him.
People always want to know which freshmen are going to have the biggest impact. That's 5, with 3 sort of in parentheses as well, that I think could have a huge impact for LSU as true freshmen in 2023. All right. It's After Further Review. Our show open every day is brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, and Bud Light, the official beer of the LSU Tigers, the New Orleans Saints, the Southern Jags. Remember, you can get your LSU aluminum Bud Light bottles. They're available right now. Great for tailgating. The design on them is awesome. By the way, hat tip to Courtney Morgan at Mockler here in Baton Rouge, who designed this can, or this aluminum bottle. If you haven't seen it yet, it's awesome. With the Tiger Eye logo, the helmet with the stripe on the back. I guess I could turn it so you could see the helmet stripe on the back where the QR code as well. Awesome. Check it out. Retailers everywhere. They got the cans and the aluminum bottles. Drink easy in Louisiana with Bud Light, the official beer of the LSU Tigers. And remember, you've got 4 days left. Well, I guess we'll go through the weekend. Monday, 6 days, a week from yesterday, we are picking the winner for our Friends in Low Places giveaway. Somebody is going to win 2 suite tickets in the Mockler Beverage Suite to watch Garth Brooks in the Superdome a week from Saturday. It could be you. You got to post a video of you with your Friends in Low Places. Get creative, however you want to do it. Garth music, got to have a Bud Light in there. Tag us, tag Mockler. We'll pick the winner on Monday and announce it. Someone's getting 2 tickets, 2 sweet tickets for Garth in the Dome a week from Saturday. Courtesy of our friends at Mockler Beverage and Bud Light. All right, it's After Further Review. Maddy Hudak's going to jump aboard with us next. She, with a scouting background, of course, did her film study on Saints Chargers, wondering what she saw. We'll get to that next on AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. I was getting onto I-10 earlier today, right at Highland Road, and as I was at the red light, ready to get on the on-ramp, boom, right there on my left, was a River City's 1 Hour Air van. You just see them all over town because so many of our friends and neighbors trust River City's 1 Hour Air. One of the horror stories I'm hearing from people right now is, man, my AC went out. I couldn't get anybody to answer the phone. Couldn't get anybody to agree to come out to my house. Never had that issue with River City's 1 Hour Air. Their technicians are ready to roll. This 5-star Google review came in from Rick Lawrence. The installation team was a pleasure to work with. Polite, courteous, took care of our home like it was their own. Swept and cleaned at the end of the day, laid mats and blankets down on our hardwood when removing the old unit and installing the new one. They answered all of my questions on the units with patience and clarity. Thank you, River City's 1 Hour Air. Another 5-star Google review, and yours could be next. 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Got a text into the show asking if Will Lutz had been traded. No, Will Lutz hasn't been traded. There was a piece today by Peter King, who floated the possibility of Sean Payton trading for Will Lutz to the Broncos. So no, that hasn't happened. The one thing I will throw the caveat is Peter King knows Sean Payton really well, and my guess is that's where that story came from, because Sean Payton would probably like to do that. I have no idea if the Saints will do that or anything along those lines. So anything other than that is just speculative. I'm not trying to walk down that road, but I have seen a little bit of that, people asking. So that's where that is rooted, just as a heads up. If something happens there, we'll talk about it. All right, it's after further review. Glad to have you hanging out with us here. Saints beat the Chargers on Sunday. They're 2-0 in the preseason. Our friend Maddy Hudak popped on the film, put on her scouting cap, and did a little film study for us, and is good enough to join us now to tell us what she saw. Maddy, we always appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing better. I've done better. It kind of feels like they beat the Chargers in spite of themselves, and watching the film a fifth and sixth time really only drove that point home.
Okay, so what stood out the most that made you roll your eyes or go, ugh?
I mean, anyone that was watching it live, just the amount of penalties, I'm sure that's been talked over to death, but it's the holding penalties and the false starts and just driving the offense, quite literally backwards, the majority of those penalties coming from that backup O-line that we saw out there, and their play wasn't that strong, and the amount of penalties that they incurred. And then I learned that, 2-point conversions are apparently a lot more risky to the previous touchdown than I guess I had realized. But just talk about some costly penalties for, Jay Kaner, who sort of had something like 17 points by the end of that drive.
So with respect to the penalties, one of the things that I said yesterday was, most of the guys that committed the penalties, Maddy, aren't going to make this team, so I'm not really going to overreact to it. Was there anything in particular that you would take away? Like, is that a sign of a lack of discipline? Anything like that? What else would you take away from that?
But probably not. I think kind of where you're at, where some of those guys aren't going to make the team, but some of those guys kind of are that backup on the O-line. And, besides Trevor Penning out there, it was mostly a bunch of guys that, I'm familiar with the name Storm Norton and Calvin Throckmorton, who I think got injured in that game. But, those are guys that could easily have to step in a game setting, just the fact that they're already down their starting guard. James Hurst moved there. Yeah, and then I'm not sure what the depth is behind Trevor Penning at left tackle either. So it kind of begs the question, and a lot of the quarterback play was hard for me to ignore. I hadn't really heard of Garcia, who they had at center, and that to me is just kind of the start and end of the offense.
Yeah. I know Max Garcia was the guy that they brought in at some point in the offseason, who it looks like he struggled a bit. But I do want to talk about Trevor Penning since you brought him up. The one time that the TV broadcast really spot shadowed him was where he whiffed on a block, which led to a TFL. What did you see from Trevor Penning in week 2 of the preseason?
So that's kind of, why people go and watch the film afterwards, because that broadcast view just kind of did him no favors at all. And it is kind of obnoxious to watch games like that in real time, because when you go back and you look at the film, he held his own for a majority of the time, both in run blocking and pass play, to the point where I kind of am almost walking back from my initial criticisms, just looking at this game, because again, that do, I think, can really just skew you. I just think back to when I thought that, Ryan Ramczyk was perhaps backsliding a little bit, and then looking closer, it seemed like it was more of the play of Ruiz at guard, who at the time hadn't really kind of caught on yet, that was kind of throwing him off. And so it's hard for me to ignore that he's been on the first team with, an entirely different line than what he was with out there, and to think that that wasn't affecting him whatsoever. But it was better than I thought off the top of my head, and especially the fact that he really played no actual game snaps last year, and you can only develop so much in the classroom.
That is really encouraging. It's why we obviously asked the question. So flip over to the defensive side, Maddy. The one guy that I've been asked about the most since Saturday was Nico Lalos, who had 3 sacks in the game. I mean, he was the defensive standout. First of all, what did he do that allowed him to have that type of game on Sunday?
I'm glad I went back and watched the film, because, he went literally insane at the end of that game. But, he was in as early as the start of the third quarter, and you could kind of see the same traits showing up that were kind of showing up at the end of the game. I've been, in this scouting academy course, and I watched the defensive line film with the scouting director, and I remember him using this phrase of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And breakfast being that get off, lunch being kind of the middle of the play, and then do you have that ability to finish? To me, he was showing up in all 3 phases. On every single snap that he played, he seemed to have good gap integrity, have the ability to read the backfield pretty well, and have some good moves off the edge, an actual pass rush arsenal. If nothing else, I'm kind of at this point looking at him as they're running so much base defense at this point, over 25%, I think, in the first 2 games. And if they're going to keep using Zach Bond off the edge in the way he does, I know that he's technically a defensive lineman, but he's almost kind of built like that hybrid role like you'd see out of Zach Bond. And he was disruptive enough that I'm curious to see more out of him next week. But it was really kind of from the earlier reps where you could actually see those things really be continual for 2 quarters.
Maddy, do they have a roster spot for another defensive end, considering we know 4 guys are making the team? Do they have a roster spot for a 5th?
The roster projection thing is always kind of a nightmare. I think he's probably one of those practice squad guys, but I just keep thinking again, I'm probably one of the more cynical, watch out for injuries on the trenches people that there are out there at this point. But, you have probably Isaiah Foskey making the roster, but has he stood out that much? Not necessarily from what you want to see out of a second round pick. I also think that a lot of the time there are expectations that might not happen in 1 or 2 preseason games, and could take a little bit of time for guys to get really their heads wrapped around the NFL. Kind of like you saw Jake Haener have that almost night and day performance in game 1 versus game 2. But I would try to kind of protect him on the practice squad if nothing else. But I'm curious to see how he performs in the 3rd preseason game, because I do think that there is a certain amount up for grabs, and he certainly demanded attention on Sunday night.
Maddy Hudak's with us on Twitter at Maddy Hudak _94. By the way, somebody texted the show last week after you were on, and they were like, "I'm so disappointed when I realized her name wasn't Hudak." No, it's Hudak, Hudak, Maddy Hudak, Hudak, not Hudat. But the similarities are actually a lot of fun. Since you brought up Isaiah Foskey, he and Brian Brzee, neither of them recorded a stat in the first preseason game. Both were a little more present. What did you see from the 2 rookie defensive linemen?
Yeah, so they were thankfully in on some reps together, so I was able to kind of watch them at the same time. The thing with Brian, is it Brzee or Brzee?
They say Brzee. He says Brzee, Brian Brzee.
We'll go with that. He plays on the interior, and those guys a lot of the time are taking on double teams, and if nothing else, trying to penetrate and get a little disruption in the backfield. But that's going to show up a lot less on the stat sheet than someone rushing off the edge like Isaiah Foskey. And you can see, I go back to that breakfast, lunch, dinner kind of thing. I wanted to see a little more dinner out of Brian Brzee at the beginning of the game, but thinking about the fact that he was taking on a decent amount of double teams, that is a little bit exhausting. And he kind of showed that he has a pass rush arsenal that isn't just speed. He has some power out there as well. That's also something I wanted to point out about Nico Lalos, is he was regularly shoving off linemen with his hands alone, and able to do that multiple times. And that's really rare. Isaiah Foskey doesn't know where to put his hands, and it just kind of looks like he's trying to figure out what the play is, if it's a run or a pass, where it's going. And, you just see linemen put their hands right in his breastplate and just completely clamp him up, and then he doesn't really have the power to be able to shake that off. So having better awareness that you're stepping right into a block and your hands are completely by your side. It's coachable, but it's still definitely more of a project situation. Whereas Brazil, to me, I think that, again, he's kind of fallen victim to interior, not really having a stat sheet to show for it. That doesn't mean that they're not freeing up space for the defensive ends to make plays like that Peyton Turner strip sack that Brazil ultimately recovered afterwards.
Maddy, last one for you here. Jalen Smith, we got to see him for the first time. He certainly looked the part. What did you see?
He certainly looks the part. You saw him in coverage, just really, again, for joining this team this quickly, zone defense is the same on every single team, but the first time he made a play on that tackle, he stayed in his zone. He was reading the backfield well, and there's this term called click and close, and it's the idea of whether or not you can read the play and then actually make one, because you could see guys out there that can diagnose a play and then just take a horrible angle, or you see Isaiah Foskey's extremely fast, and he has the athletic ability, but it doesn't seem like he's able to see the plays in his head. You saw him put that together so quickly on that play. And, when he was covering, he kept his eyes on the quarterback, and just those really good fundamentals that it made you feel almost entirely different about that linebacker room heading into the season, with the idea that he's definitely credible enough to fill in for that role while Demario Davis is coming back. And then again, with that base defense they've been running, perhaps he's regularly out there as that third linebacker.
She is Maddy Hudak on Twitter at Maddy Hudak _94. Give her a follow there. Saints correspondent during training camp and throughout the season. Maddy, we always appreciate it. Thanks for the time and the insight.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, be well. It is after further review. We always appreciate a couple of minutes there from Maddy. Good. Most importantly, I'm encouraged by what she said going back and watching the film with regard to Trevor Penning. And how she said it, I think, is completely appropriate, where when you're watching the game cut real time, sometimes it doesn't do guys justice. Like, you see the result of the play and you think, oh man, well, Trevor Penning got beat. And he did on one play, which resulted in a TFL. But if that's like the only time you really spot shadow or see, it's the lasting takeaway that you have. Well, what did he do the rest of the game? So that he actually performed and maybe graded better than we thought, I think is a very good thing, because they need, I'm going to say this again, over and over again, they need Trevor Penning to be the starting left tackle. You have a first-round draft pick invested in him. He's got to be a starter for you. So, yeah, he basically took a redshirt year as a rookie. He's got to be that dude this year. So, very good to see that or to hear. They actually maybe outperformed what many of us have thought to this point. Okay, it's after further review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center. You can call 924-2020, 924-2020. Fired up to tell you, Paulie's just back, was out last Thursday and Friday, got his LASIK done by Dr. Blake Williamson last Thursday. You clearing up, Paulie? I know, I remember it took probably 2 weeks before we really got really, really sharp vision. How are you feeling right now?
Feeling pretty good. It's a little blurry still, but it's getting better.
But you can see, even with a little bit of the blur, the little haze, you could see.
I can see.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
It's an amazing feeling. So, and every single day it gets sharper and sharper and sharper. And when you go for that consult in a couple weeks, your post-op, you're going to be seeing better than 20/20, which is just awesome. So do what I did, do what Paulie did last week. Call the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020, 924-2020, or williamsoneye.com. That's Williamson, EYE.com. Okay, y'all, it is after further review. We're glad you're with us. We'll go around the SEC. Larry Holder is going to be here in 27 minutes. If you're not familiar, Larry and I have had a years-long wager about Kyle Trask, a.k.a. Kyle Trash. Larry thought Kyle would be a really good NFL quarterback and a starter. I said, no way, he stinks like trash. And today we learned that Kyle Trash is not going to be the starting quarterback in Tampa, yet Larry Holder refuses to concede here. And I am I'm pissed off right now. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm pissed because I've been down this road before, and we'll get there. Larry's with us at the top of hour number 2. We'll hear his case, and we'll let you decide if you agree with me or with that no good, yellow belly, dirty Larry Holder, whose kids yell at me on Twitter, and he thinks it's hilarious. That's why I tell the kid to shut up every day. Shut up, kid. All right, Larry Holder in about 30 minutes. We'll go around the SEC next. Stick around, AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon, get it done. Gordon McKernan, injury attorney. Still got time. You got 10 days, y'all. Today's 21st. Yeah, 22nd. Excuse me, 9 days. 9 days left. GetGordonBillboards.com. That's GetGordonBillboards.com. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is letting you design Gordon's next billboard. You can win up to $2,000 in prizes. By the way, there is a kids version of the competition as well. So you'll have adult winners and you'll have children winners as well. So if your child wants to enter, not going to be competing against like professional artists and stuff. So make sure they submit as well. First place gets a $1,000 gift card, G Swag, a mini billboard of their artwork, photo shoot at the office. There's second and third places as well. So anyway, point is, go to GetGordonBillboards.com, GetGordonBillboards.com. Submit your artwork and you can see your billboard on the street. You know what to do. Get Gordon. Get it done.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind. When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Did you watch Monday Night Football last night? Did you watch it, Muse? Did you watch Monday Night Football last night?
I saw the very end.
The very end meaning?
I saw Washington kick a field goal and then intercept a Hail Mary.
So you just saw the field goal and the Hail Mary?
Yep.
Paulie, did you watch Monday Night Football last night?
I had it on, but I really wasn't paying attention to it.
So you did not watch what transpired at the end of that game?
No.
Okay. By the way, hat tip to our guy, the Otter, right? Can we give our guy, the Otter, a little credit here? If Jimmy Ott, who comes on this show at the end of every show every day and Your boy gives us his Otter locks, best bet of the day. And yesterday, the Otter called a shot. The Baltimore Ravens had won 24 consecutive preseason football games. I get it, it's preseason, but that's an auto play, right? If you're a gambler, when you have that kind of streak, it's an auto play. You're just betting money line Ravens every time. Well, stinky line, Ravens were only a 1-point favorite. Otter spotted it, called it, said, take the skins in this. The Washington Commanders. How do you say Washington Commanders?
They should have stuck with football team. They just should have stuck with football team.
They should have. It's better than Commanders. Like, WFT is way better than Anyway. And I'll be darned, Washington pulls it out. At the end, they kick a field goal, a walk-off. The craziest part watching that is how desperately both teams were trying to win. Now, I get it. Herm, you play to win the game. I get it. I'm not saying the guys out there shouldn't be trying, but what I mean is you got, like, coaches calling timeouts, reviewing plays. I mean, it's the fourth quarter of a preseason game. The result is wholly inconsequential, and they're laying it on the line like this is for a playoff berth. It was equal parts absurd and kind of cool. I don't quite know how I feel about it. I mean, I was watching it like this is patently absurd that this is happening. I'm watching what I'm watching right now, but I was completely biased because I bet Washington. So I'm like, yes, let's go, Jake from State Farm. Like, he's throwing. The craziest part, dude, it's like they're at the 40-yard line. All they need is a field goal. So that your little line, the field goal line, they need 5 yards. And Fromm's throwing 40-yard pass. It's like, bro, go for the high completion underneath route. You got a timeout. Just give me 5 yards, Jake. What are you doing? That's why he'll never play in the NFL. But anyway, it was absurd. Like, it was kind of cool, but it was absurd.
Yeah, so like when I saw the end of the game, when I saw him kick the field goal and then intercept the pass and them celebrate, I was like, I kind of wish I would have watched this whole game because it did look like it just meant a lot. And preseason football, it's just really dull sometimes.
Weird, man.
Like normally I will watch the Saints and that's about it because I don't care.
Unless if you bet.
Yeah, but even then, I just can't bring myself to bet on preseason football. So, but last night I was like, man, it looked like that was actually pretty good last night. Kind of mad I missed it, not going to lie.
It was uncomfortably entertaining. That's what, like...
But entertaining, right? And
the
that's
good part. That's the good part. But, again, I was entertained by a preseason game, which was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't be.
You shouldn't
Those are just guys out there trying to put out tape to maybe get on somebody's practice squad. That's basic. In the fourth quarter of the second preseason game, that's what you're watching. A bunch of dudes that are never going to play again in the NFL. So part of that's cool, but the other part's like, guys, what are you doing? It's like when you're at the family crawfish boil and cousin Larry is getting way too intense over the family cornhole tournament.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it's just the family cornhole tournament, man. Like, I get it, you know. Uncle Paulie over there is probably going to be a little, you know, in your face.
Plays for keeps, man.
You know, cousin Stevens had too many beers over there in the corner, and we're all going to leave here and nobody's going to care again. Like, understand it is what it is.
Bragging rights for next year's crawfish boil.
Which amounts to complete nothing in life. Like that preseason game yesterday. Except for the guys, the memes are great, though. People have made banners, like snap the 24-game Ravens preseason win streak.
Hang it up there.
Washington football team, the Redskins.
They're in the Ring of Honor, man.
The Commanders, whatever they're called now. It's after further review. I've seen more competitive games at Traction. Traction Sport. How about that transition? Traction Sports. TractionSports.com. TractionSports.com. Hat tip to Mac Chiwilli, the whole gang over at Traction. I know I say it often, but think about what they've invested in our community. To have a place like Traction, a literal world-class facility where professional athletes and sports, everything from all over the country, come to train at Traction, come to rehab at Traction. One of the coolest things last year, I'll tell you about Traction PT as well. There was a youth football player locally in Baton Rouge and then a defensive back for the Green Bay Packers. Forgive me, I can't remember his name. But again, it's like it's not a local guy. It was a guy from the Packers who they sent to Traction to rehab. And they had the same injury. It was a broken leg, and so the two of them, this junior high football player and this player for the Green Bay Packers who had the same injury, took a photo side by side, like with their same leg forward. It was really cool, but it speaks to what they do. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a pro athlete or if you're playing 7th grade football or anything in between. It's Traction. TractionSports.com, TractionSports.com. Traction, where champions are made. Okay, we do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, excellence in imaging solutions. The South Carolina Gamecocks.
Shane Beamer gave an update on 3 injured players, Antoine Wells, Nick Harbor, and Pup Howard. Wells and Harbor, Beamer's optimistic both will play next Saturday in the season opener against North Carolina. When asked about Howard, Beamer said he's already good to go.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
A defensive end, Darren Aguirre, not good to go. He will miss the opener on Sunday against Hawaii. Clark Lee made that announcement on Tuesday. Aguirre has suffered a dislocated elbow on practice back on August the 8th. He's yet to return to practice.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Tennessee got a commitment from 4-star defensive end Jordan Ross. He's the number 24 overall player in the country. He's 6th best defensive end. He's Tennessee's 2nd highest rated recruit. Picked the Vols over Florida, Georgia, Texas, Bama. 6'5", 220. That's 11 players in the top 300 for Tennessee in this cycle.
Texas A&M!
Aggies got a commitment from one of the top offensive linemen in the country. 4-star Blake Ivy picked Texas A&M over LSU. Tigers made things really close, though. 6'3", 280-pound lineman. He's number 117 overall in the country, the number 7 offensive tackle. Aggies now with 20 commits.
The Auburn Tigers.
And Auburn got a commit from a 2025 linebacker in Caleb Falk, 6'3", 225-pounder. His brother plays at Auburn already. Falk picked Auburn over Alabama, also considered Clemson, Florida, and Georgia. He's a 4-star, the number 11 junior in the state of Alabama, the second commit for Auburn's 2025 class. Okay, there you have it. That is Around the SEC, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to our guy Trey Beal and our friends at Gulf Coast Office Products online at gcopnet.com. Tell you every day they're the official office equipment provider of the LSU Tigers, the New Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Pelicans, the ULL Ragin' Cajuns, and now our friends at Gulf Coast Office Products are the official office equipment provider of the Baton Rouge Zydeco. That's right, the new minor league hockey team that is going to begin playing soon here in Baton Rouge. Gulf Coast Office Products, always great supporters of the local teams and the local communities, and, of course, the Baton Rouge Zydeco on that list as well. It's Gulf Coast Office Products, gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com for Gulf Coast Office Products. Okay, it is After Further Review, y'all, brought to you every single Tuesday here by our friends over at Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. You want a deer, you're getting it from Sunshine. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 1. South Carolina taking their obsession with Sandstorm to a new level. I'll explain next. AFR.
AFR.
Buying or selling commercial or residential. If you need a realtor, you need Darren James & Associates, brokered by eXp Realty. Every home listed by every company, all in one place. You know where to find it. Agent225.com. Agent225.com. Do you want a free property report on your home? You can get it. Agent225.com. Go to the website. Right there on the homepage, you'll see it. Just scroll down on the homepage. It's a free property report. We're not talking about one of the big national websites that doesn't take into account your local market and things like what your neighbor may have done to their home or what you've done to your home as opposed to your neighbor. You can get all of that right there for you at agent225.com. That's agent225.com. Listen, I told you this before. During COVID, there was a survey done about the most stressful event in people's lives. Number 1 on the list was moving. You want a stress-free experience that gets results? You need Darren James. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I'm Chris Nakamoto, and here's what I'm working on for my stories on WBRZ Channel 2 tonight. Cattle farmers just north of Baton Rouge are ringing alarm bells, afraid that this excessive drought could put them out of business. As costs skyrocket, pastures are drying up. Hear from one who says in the 85 years they've been in business, they've never been this concerned about going out of business. I'm Chris Nakamoto from WBRZ. Watch more tonight on WBRZ Channel 2.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
The Saints don't have to cut down to 53 men on the roster just yet, but took a step in that direction. Per the Wyatt, Nick Underhill tweeted this a bit ago, as most of all the media has now, but it's on the transaction wire today. Saints have waived wide receiver Bryan Edwards. So Edwards, of course, had 2 penalties on Sunday in the game against the Chargers. Both penalties negated scoring plays, negated touchdowns. So you want to have a surefire way to not make a team, commit 2 penalties in a preseason game on the same drive that each negate a touchdown scoring play. That's unfortunately Bryan Edwards' fate. And I'm a little disappointed. Look, the Saints have great depth at receiver. It was going to be really tough to make this team at that position anyway. But remember, Edwards is a guy who, when he finished his college career at South Carolina, was South Carolina's career leader in everything, all the receiving records. And, we had a chance to meet Bryan Edwards and interview him at SEC Media Days back in 2019. Really approachable, affable guy. Wish him well. And remember, he spent 2 years, he was drafted by the Raiders and spent 2 seasons in L.A., or Las Vegas, with Derek Carr. So part of the reason Edwards ended up in New Orleans, no doubt, was at the behest of Derek Carr. So disappointing for Bryan Edwards. As I said, was going to be hard to make this team anyway, but Saints waive Bryan Edwards. I mentioned was a South Carolina Gamecock. When you think of South Carolina, if I say South Carolina football game, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What do you think? What do you think, Muse? First thing, South Carolina.
Sandstorm.
You're damn right, sandstorm. That annoying, what is this, Swedish? So Darude is the DJ?
Could be Dutch.
Let's see. He's from Finland.
Oh, we were way off.
He's Finnish. Darude. Darude is headed to Columbia, South Carolina this year. I didn't know, how do you do a concert if you're Darude? Do you just play Sandstorm on loop? What else do you do?
Well, wait. So wait, this is like for a concert. It's not like a pre-football game or something?
So this year, when South Carolina hosts Kentucky on November the 18th, Darude is going to be there. He's going to have some pregame show in the square, the quad, some area, some big public space, I guess akin to like if he did on the parade grounds at LSU or whatever. So there's going to be a Darude thing. And then I guess he's going to do something in the stadium. Of course he's going to. Of course. Like,
you got to have to go play Sandstorm, yeah.
Pregame, right before kickoff, they'll have Darude out there. But, like, how do you play Sandstorm? Like, you put him in the press box? Do you have him on the field with speakers? I mean, how do you set that up?
You could do that, or like on a balcony or something there, maybe. I don't know.
He's plugged into the public address system there at Williams-Brice? I guess so. Do you know when this started? They started playing Sandstorm.
I would say probably early to mid 2000s.
It was a game against Ole Miss in 2009 that they just randomly played it. People took to it, so they kept playing it. How much of a tradition really is something that's only 14 years old? I guess like 100 years from now, can you imagine if they're still playing Sandstorm at South Carolina games in 100 years?
Why wouldn't they be? That sounds awesome.
Because it's terrible. Larry Holder next.
AFR.
Speaking of terrible, Larry Holder. Something that's far from, of course, is Shawbills. Shawbills Tire and Auto Service. ShawbillsTire.com. You know, when you go to the website, one of the things you're going to see is what they call their customer bill of rights. These are things that they just say every customer deserves when they walk in, like a right to our responsiveness and respect, the right to be sold only what you need, right to a clear explanation of costs, things like that. You just don't always hear that from companies, from any business. You do at Shawbills. Shawbills Tire and Auto Service at ShawbillsTire.com, ShawbillsTire.com, with locations all over South Louisiana. You know, the other thing about Shawbills as well, I tell you often, is they treat you like family, and the same is true for their employees. The Shawbills employee benefit plan is incredible, like paid holidays, employee discount, the tool purchase program, a health insurance. You can learn more. You want a career instead of a job? ShawbillsTire.com.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like Hudco, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play. with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. From Brady to Baker, Baker Mayfield named Buccaneers starting quarterback. He was competing with Kyle Trask to succeed the retired Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. A first-round pick or multiple picks that are the equivalent of a first-round pick. That's what the Colts are seeking in a Jonathan Taylor trade, according to ESPN's Stephen Holder. The price for the all-pro running back, worth it for a championship contender. Canty and Carlin co-host Chris Canty.
I think it makes a world of difference in terms of a team that has title aspirations. It makes sense to go all in, to pay the cost, both in terms of the compensation to the Colts and the contract, if you think you can make a run at a Super Bowl over the next couple of years.
Chris Canty on Greeny. Commanders receiver Terry McLaurin's MRI showed no major damage to his injured right toe. He's day-to-day. Team optimistic about his availability for the September 10th season opener. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski's reporting NBA's fining Sixers star James Harden $100,000 for recent comments calling team president Daryl Morey a liar. The comments stem from Harden's belief the Sixers would not accommodate his trade request.
If you need last-minute hires in no time, you need Indeed. Their integrated hiring solution lets you schedule and conduct video interviews all in one place. Finding your next great hire has never been more streamlined. Get hiring at Indeed.com/credit.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride.
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, Matt!
I'd tell you to shut up, kid, but you're Larry Holder's kid, so I get it. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Musu. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Matt Wyatt, bottom of this hour, former Mississippi State quarterback. If you were here last week, every day we're checking in with each of LSU's SEC opponents, see how fall camp is going. We've got Mississippi State today. We've got Missouri, and there's one more I'm missing, Muse. Who is it?
Texas A&M!
Oh, how could I forget? The Aggies. Whoop! We'll get Hunt the Good Ag in here to do the Aggie preview for us. Okay, you probably saw that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have announced their starting quarterback, and it is Baker Mayfield. As a matter of fact, the Bucs social media crew is hard at work. Did you see the graphic they put up? It's this sort of like fiery, satanic, calligraphic design behind a picture of Baker Mayfield. It says, "Time to bake." Baker Mayfield, QB number 1. So Baker Mayfield has beaten out Kyle Trask, as I knew he would, because even a flamed-out quarterback like Mayfield, who was picked number 1 overall and sucks, beat out Kyle Trask because he's not a good quarterback. Larry Holder and I had a bet 3 years ago. Larry has now officially lost the bet, yet he refuses to concede. Here he is to explain why he's a yellow belly coward. Larry Holder of The Athletic. How are you?
I'm doing great, and we could change the sounder to what my son says. You're not a loser. You're just not a winner yet. You are not a winner yet. I would get ready for by like week 6 or 7 to have the Tampa Bay Bucks social media team say in Trask with a K at the end, we trust, because last I checked, Baker Mayfield hasn't exactly held down a starting job very long these days, which to me would signify that if Baker loses the job and Kyle Trask starts games this year, he's a starting NFL quarterback, just like last year with the 49ers. Trey Lance was a starting quarterback for the 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo was a starting quarterback for the 49ers. Brock Purdy was a starting quarterback for the 49ers. I win any of those bets if I said one of those guys would be a starting quarterback. So this is not over, not by a long shot.
That's really great, except for the fact that everything we say here is recorded, and I do have context of our bet. Muse, let's play exactly what the wager is. $50 bourbon, done.
But how long does this bet last? Like 10 years?
Look, what are your parameters?
You said ever, so what do you want me to tell you?
Like, would he ever start a game? I mean, who the hell's the kid Rippin from Boise State's going to be starting a game on Thursday night? I mean, I guess pigs could fly and eventually Trask could start a game somewhere. I mean, we've seen Dan Orlovsky started games in this league. Could he start a game somewhere along the way? Okay, but he's never going to be a consistent starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't see it.
Let's go 3 years. If he's not a consistent starter, I owe you.
Okay. Here we are. We are year 3. He is not a consistent starter.
We're starting year 3.
And the case you just made before we went to the audio was Baker sucks. Week 7 he starts, I win. No. It's be a consistent starter, which he has not been and will not be.
Well, you can't say will not be. That doesn't end the bet. Like, we have to. You don't know the future. If he starts 4 games in a row, consistent starter.
That doesn't qualify. That's exactly why. That is exactly why we set that parameter, Larry, because anybody on a crappy team could run out there and start a couple of games. There's an injury. He is not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
I would argue this in court that what is your definition of consistent? And if 4 weeks in a row is consistent, that's consistent. Like, that's consistent. It could be 2 games in a row, actually. I'd win this in court, my friend. I would win this in court.
Your attempt to win this on semantics is absolutely chicken bleep. And I wish I was on satellite radio right now or a podcast so I could use the word I want to use, because deep down in your soul that the words that just came out of your mouth are grade A bull poop.
That would win in court.
That's not the point. That's not the point. That is not the essence of the wager we had. When Kyle Trask was coming out of Florida, you wanted the Saints to pick him because you thought he would be a good quarterback in the NFL, and I told you he was El Toro Pupo. He was no good. And here we are now, and he can't even beat out Baker Mayfield. This team invested a second-round pick on Kyle Trask, let him sit behind the greatest quarterback ever, and now here we are, and he can't even beat out a dude that played for 3 different teams last year, and you're actually going to sit here and still try to defend your position on Kyle Trask. I'm going to tell you what, Larry Holder, for 5 years now, hold on. For 5 years now, I've been calling out this yellow-bellied piece of trash who lives in Thibodeau called Dwayne. And he has tucked tail and ran away from me for 5 years because he owes me $500. He's a piece of trash is what that guy is. And you right now, Larry Holder, you are dangerously close to falling into that category, my friend. You know I love you. But my goodness, you know, Larry, you know the essence of our bet, and you lost that bet.
The year is not even started, much less complete.
If he, Kyle Trask, ends up starting a game or multiple games, it is not based on his merit. It would be based on Baker Mayfield stinking or being injured, and by default, they put Kyle Trask in. That's not winning the job and becoming a consistent starter in the NFL.
This is not spirit of the bet. This is not the way things work like that. It's not the spirit of it. It is what it is. If he's a consistent starter at some point through 3 years, I win in court, I win the bet.
This ain't court, baby.
Exactly.
There isn't Napoleonic code around here.
Oh, you make the rules and I just go along with them.
I'm sorry. Where is the Napoleonic code? Where's the courtroom? This is you and I had an agreement. And you lost that agreement.
You twist the agreement, and
We just played your words. I said point blank. Anybody could start a game in this league, and that might happen with Kyle Trask as well. Maybe Baker breaks a leg and Kyle plays for a few weeks. That doesn't mean he's a consistent starter in the NFL based on his merit as a player.
Was Brock Purdy a consistent starter in the NFL?
Not yet.
He wasn't last year. He wasn't a consistent starter last year.
Not yet.
Because of an injury. Not yet.
No, not yet.
Oh, Matthew.
What?
You know it has nothing to do with me thinking that Kyle Trask is actually a good quarterback, right? You know this was never that part of the bet. It was just me making a prediction and a call and sticking by it, and I can still stick by it.
I'm so disappointed in you.
The fact that we spent right now 10 minutes on the radio debating this, and it is pretty hilarious. I will have to say that.
I'm so disappointed in you, Larry. I thought you were.
If this season ends and there's no consistent starter for Kyle Trask, if he's not that, you win. I'm gonna live up to that. Heck, I was up in Baton Rouge this past weekend, drove by Calandro's. I was like, man, I know that place is where I'm probably going to have to go purchase this thing if I lose. So I get it. I get it.
I'm so disappointed in you.
It's just not over. It's not over because you say it's over. It's just not over yet. It's not. It's true. It's not over.
You're moving the goalposts, and I don't like it at all.
The goalpost is 3 seasons. We've only had 2. We haven't even started season 3, Matthew.
And he lost the job to a. Is Baker Mayfield a good player in the NFL? Is he a good quarterback?
No, he's not a good quarterback in the NFL.
And the guy who's not, by your admission, not a good quarterback in the NFL, just beat out your guy. And you're still standing by the fact that he could win a job, be a starting quarterback, a consistent starter. Sad, bro.
There's a lot of people who aren't good quarterbacks who I don't think should be winning the job and having the job, and they do it. It's just the nature of the NFL. It's just what it is.
I'll tell you what, man. This is a bummer. I feel like we got to I feel like I want the audience to weigh in here.
I knew you were going to go there.
Because, and I'll tell you, and here's why, Larry. Because the audience, by and large, especially whenever we go ask some people on Twitter or whatever the case may be, that's the segment that loves to take an ice pick and jam it in my eye, right? And I think even that segment of our audience is going to agree with me on this.
You can have your segment of the audience. Hey, that's fine. I know what is what. What would win in court? I would win in court. I have to defend my stance, so I'm defending it, and I would win.
Again, there is no burden of proof. There is no courtroom. This is the court of public opinion. This is not a legal proceeding, Larry. This is you and me. We had a wager. You have lost, and you refuse to acknowledge that you lost. And that
in my opinion, I haven't lost yet.
Okay.
I lose at the end of this season.
So we will ask
if it goes that way.
We will ask an independent arbiter. Hey, Muse, by the way, how do you I'm curious. Nobody gives Muso more crap than me. I make up stories about him smoking weed. I basically turned this kid into a Barbie girl listening pothead. That's what I've turned him into publicly. Muse, how do you feel about where we stand right now? I'm curious.
The word consistent is the problem, and if we're not talking about one season. That's the thing. In 3 years, the consistent in 3 years is where I get bogged down in this.
Wait, so to clarify, whose side are you on right now?
I would lean to your side because of that.
Yeah, the guy that hates me thinks that. Okay, great. Larry, what you working on over at The Athletic right now?
The consistency or inconsistency of Baker Mayfield. If you go look at our news story, I have all the negative stats you could find on Baker Mayfield. It's true. My byline is on it today.
And he still beat out your guy.
And that's like my last line of my analysis. Considering the quarterback room, it still makes sense. For now. Makes sense for now. You can win a job out of default. Like if Baker's so terrible, you got to start. That's the way it is.
Not.
How do you think Brock Purdy got in? Now he's the starting quarterback.
That's not the root of our wager, and you know it. All right.
I look at it differently than you did.
Larry.
Always have.
You're doing whatever is convenient for you in the moment. You've continued to move the goalpost, and you've done it again here. We'll ask the audience and see how they feel. I'm not going to pressure you into conceding today. I'm not going to make you buy me anything today.
You kind of did pressure me into conceding today, and there's no way at all that I was going to concede today, and you knew it.
I had hoped that you might be an honorable human. Alas.
I'll remain just
that hope has been dashed.
Humanoid. I'll just be a humanoid today,
All
like
right.
Bobby the Brain Heenan would say. Humanoid.
Bobby the Brain Heenan. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. All right, he's on Twitter at Larry Holder. Go tweet at him and tell him how much of a degenerate it is and that he lost this bet. No thanks, but thanks, Larry.
One day, I assume I will lose this bet. I'll just put it to you that way. It's not in my favor. I'll put it to you that way.
Okay, we'll talk to you later. Have a good day.
See you, buddy.
All right, that is Larry Holder. This is After Further Review. Like, Paul, does anybody agree with Larry? Paul, do you agree with Larry? Like, is there something I'm missing here? This seems so black and white, crystal clear to me.
I'm kind of like with Musa. Like, we're 2 years into year 3, and he still hasn't started.
And he lost the job to Baker Mayfield. Any game he starts this year would be a technicality. It's Baker stinks, breaks a leg, something like that, and so Trask has to go in. That's specifically why 3 years ago I said anybody can start a game. Ian Book started Monday Night Football.
Shout out Ian Book. It was a great effort, too. Tough spot to be in.
It's After Further Review.
AFR.
Brought to you by Pluckers, Nicholson, Bluebonnet, dine-in, carry-out, or delivery. Yesterday when I was doing the Plucker spot is when Mincy walked right in front of the camera. Just parked it right there in front of the camera. Hey, Tuesday, LSU school is back in. Tiger students tonight, 8:30, Nicholson location. Our guy Hunt Palmer, a.k.a. Hunt Palmario, will be hosting sports trivia. So get your team together, get on by, test your sports knowledge, eat wings, drink beer, win Pluckers gift cards. It's every Tuesday, 8:30, sports trivia at Pluckers on Nicholson. Also, both locations, every Tuesday, kids eat free. So parents, get on buy yourself an entree, your kid eats free. That's every Tuesday. So the family can go out, have a fun night, eat affordably at Pluckers every Tuesday, either location. Nicholson, just south of campus. Bluebonnet, right in front of the Mall of Louisiana. Dine-in, carry-out, or delivery. Uber Eats, DoorDash, and great time to have that fantasy football draft at Pluckers if you don't like our wings. We'll give you the bird.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job,
Hudco can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call Hudco Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
If you're listening and not watching, man, I love, Paul, can you go to the wide shot again? I love when we come out of break and Paulie's on this wide shot and the whole studio is just, can you go to the wide shot? Thanks. No, right here. Sorry. The wide shot there. I guess it's when you're all the way back. Anyway, don't worry about it. It's, you know what I'm talking about? Like when you're faded, when you're panned out. Yeah, there you go. When you're panned out. And you could see this giant, like all the green on set is so cool. So happy to be partnered with Sunshine, awesome local company. They are your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana, 17 locations, Bunkie and below. You know, one of the things that I really learned, I know, look, ain't nobody going to confuse me for a farmer. Y'all know I'm not exactly the outdoors guy, but I've grown up in this state. I've lived in the state my whole life. Clearly, I understand the importance of farming and agriculture to our economy. And our friends at Sunshine are just so awesome. Massive amounts of respect. I over the years, how many people who are farmers in our communities who I know listen to the show, maybe you're on the tractor, maybe you're in one of these John Deeres, and you got the radio on and you listen to us all day, and we're so, so grateful. You know, one of the things that I learned that was so cool when I went and met with the folks at Sunshine is they have their operations center mobile, which is like for mobile, it's called a Life. It's basically Life 360 for farmers. And one of the stories they told me was, and it's a free service, by the way. They had a farmer who opened up the app and saw one of their farmhands was about to fertilize a field that he had fertilized a week before, just because he had pulled up the app, which was a free service. And so he was able to call and say, hey, I just did that. I just fertilized that field last week. Move on. Saved him time, saved him money. It's just awesome. Check them out. Our friends over at Sunshine Equipment are just awesome. So your John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Sunshine. Look, they got your zero-turn mowers, everything you need for residential projects and things like that. But, of course, the massive pieces of machinery that help our farmers and our farm communities in Louisiana. Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Jay Johnson met with reporters yesterday and introduced Nate Yeske, the new pitching coach, and Terry Rooney, who they created a role for Terry Rooney. That was one of my big takeaways. Listening to that yesterday was Jay saying that LSU was actually, compared to the rest of the SEC, by resources, understaffed, one of the bottom in the SEC as far as the money spent on staff. That's not to say Jay's salary, but meaning in support staff and personnel. So he went to Scott Woodward and said, hey, look, here's where we are compared to the rest of the league in support staff. And so got approval to add the extra off-field position for Terry Rooney, who's going to be a recruiter and an operations guy. And I'm certain at some time during his time in Baton Rouge, Terry Rooney will be back on field coaching again. Jay's assistants are getting head coaching jobs. They just are. And so that'll happen again, and I'm sure Terry will get promoted but to an on-field job. But in the meantime, two great assets that they've added. Jay Johnson, and there is a bit of news today. The Lafayette Daily Advertiser, I believe Cokie Riley over at the Advertiser, reported Bryce Collins has graduated and will not return to the baseball team. So Jay Johnson in this article said, quote, we're hopeful he'll get a professional opportunity. So Bryce Collins was not drafted, hopes to have an opportunity to go play professionally somewhere. So Johnson, of course, when he left Arizona, brought Collins with him. So Collins was recruited to Arizona by Jay Johnson, and then Collins came to Baton Rouge for 2 years. Had a year of eligibility remaining, but ultimately will not return. By the way, here was Jay Johnson on this pitching staff, even sans a guy like Collins, who pitched 16 and a half innings last year.
All four of those guys will blend well with the returning pitchers that we have to form a really, really good pitching staff. I think that if you ask me on paper, I believe that will be the strength of our team in 2024.
The four guys he was talking about there are the four pitchers they got via the transfer portal. Maybe most interesting was hearing him talk about Luke Holman, the transfer from Alabama. Said when he watched Holman, he said that looked like Chase Dolander from Tennessee. Dolander was the SEC Pitcher of the Year 2 seasons ago, before Skeens. That was high praise for that transfer. We also got to hear from Nate Yeske, who, interestingly enough, and especially now with Collins, that's another right-handed arm that's gone. LSU has, I believe if this number is right, more lefties on the staff than righties for 2024. And Nate Yeske, the pitching coach, talked about having so many left-handed pitchers on the staff.
You can never have enough left-handers. And my track record with being fortunate enough to be in the dugout with left-handers over the years, they've kind of paved the way with the success. I think there's some different things that are unique that they possess, being able to do some things relative to the running game with guys in front of them, certainly to offset some of the better left-handed bats who maybe didn't necessarily get to face those guys in high school. So now it's a different look for them. But with the young ones, I think there's a balance. You look at experience with Herring as Coach Johnson had mentioned earlier, Ackenhausen, guys who have been through the battles and have some experience, and now you're starting to get in those younger guys with Anderson and Brown and Johnson. There's a lot of things to like with the pieces that are there. And
I know most people right now are not in any way in LSU baseball mode. I mean, we're less than 2 weeks away from the start of the LSU football season. Week 0 is Saturday. We got college football. So I understand most people are not in baseball mode, but it was relevant because Jay introduced the new coaches yesterday. They started their 8-hour week fall workouts. And then the news today, Bryce Collins will not be back to the baseball team. I was asked yesterday by somebody, so look, if you go look at the roster that LSU published yesterday, there are 46 players on that roster. The NCAA rules for 2024 are 40 roster spots, and 32 players can be on some form of aid. Obviously, you got to divide up 11.7 over your entire roster. So the 11.7 doesn't change, but you have more players. Usually it's 35 players, and 27 can have some sort of aid. So it's great. Now you have to divvy up the pie by even more. But anyway, and someone was asking, so can LSU just redshirt some of those guys? No. Yes, you can, but even if they redshirt, they still are on the 40-man roster. So they count as one of those spots. This is a long way of saying between now and the start of the season, 6 players on this team won't be with the team when the season starts. So that attrition, it has to happen. You have 46 guys on the team. You can't take 46 into the season. So 6 players somehow, some way are going to be gone that are on the roster right now. All right, it's after further review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here on a Tuesday edition of AFR. We're brought to you by Michelli Weighing and Measurement, online at Michelli.com, Michelli.com. As always, I tell you, Michelle, 76 years in business. I want to say this very clearly, though, because some of you, as I learned last week, as I said it very fast, misunderstand what I said. It's Michelle, Michelli, Michelle weighing and measurement. Weighing and measurement. Michelle weighing and measurement. They're your partner for weighing and measurement equipment services since 1947. 76 years in business. You weigh or measure something. They sell, service, rent the products you use to weigh and measure. You want to look at all their services? Go to the website, hit the services tab right there at the top. You'll see everything that Michelle offers. Again, it's Michelle Weighing and Measurement. They're an ISO 17025 accredited laboratory. If you don't know what that is, you don't need it. If you know what that is, you understand why it's important, and Michelle does it. Michelle Weighing and Measurement. Michelle.com, Michelle.com. Okay, let's grab a break. We'll head to Stark Vegas when we come back, checking in on all the SEC opponents that LSU plays this year. Matt Wyatt, former Mississippi State quarterback, does a great job. He's on their radio broadcast as well. Matt Wyatt will be with us. We also still have to check in with Texas A&M, so we'll do that tomorrow. But when we come back, we'll head to Starkville, talk to our buddy Matt Wyatt. And we'll still get the Tigers and the pros later this hour. We're glad you're here with us on a Tuesday edition of AFR. Stick around.
AFR.
I get it. It's 99 degrees outside right now. Matt, why in the world would you be talking about fall vegetable gardens and putting out buckbusters and all that stuff when it's 99 degrees? Because it's August the 22nd. And yes, I understand it is unseasonably hot. We're setting all-time highs for temperatures, but the calendar tells you it is almost fall. It is August the 22nd. Football is almost here. It's a great time of year. It's a great time to get by Clegg's because you want to get Johnny Naylor seeds to get those fall vegetable gardens ready? Do it now. You want to get those fall bedding plants? They're starting to show up at Clegg's Nursery. As I mentioned, they've got buckbusters. They've got deer corn. Mobucks is on the way. It's almost deer season. They can help you out at Clegg's Nursery. Look, Clegg's has been around for more than 60 years, 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area, partnered with True Value Hardware Store. So like I always say, buy local, shop local. Tell them Matt sent you to Clegg's Nursery.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down the
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Taking time last week and this week to check in with every one of LSU's SEC football opponents this year, kind of see how things are going in fall camp. Head over to Starkville. Maybe no more difficult team in the league to try to peg this year because of what they went through. I mean, the very sudden death of Mike Leach, Zach Arnett in his first year, so new head coach, a new offense. Let's try to piece it together a little bit. Our friend Matt Wyatt, former Mississippi State quarterback, good enough to join us here for a couple of minutes to talk about it. Matt, we always appreciate your time, man. How are you?
Man, doing great, Matt. Good to hear your voice. When I hear you, I know it's getting close. Won't be long. We'll kick it off. Thank goodness.
You got it, man. He's on Twitter at Radio Wyatt, by the way, if you want to give him a follow. Yeah, I mean, you heard the lead in there, Matt. I mean, can you kind of contextualize this for us, just what it's been like over the last, let's say, 6-7 months in Starkville and around the Mississippi State program with the tragic death of Mike Leach and then, Zach Arnett taking over as a first-time head coach?
Yeah, it's certainly an unusual situation. And, I sort of framed it going back to it as, this transition you didn't bargain for, but you got to go through it, and they were really fortunate. They had Zach Arnett kind of there as your DC, and I don't think it's just words. Other people around the industry back it up. He was going to be somebody's young head coach pretty soon. State was really fortunate he was there in that position, and did a great job coaching a bowl game. In that bowl game, turned the defense over to Matt Brock, so there's a little bit of a tiptoe towards a transition, right? Arnett becomes your head coach. You make Brock, just continues in the DC role and roll with it on defense and then transition the offense. And so they go through spring. That was a little different in that Barbay comes in there. You had no tight ends on the roster in the spring. They got some that transferred in now for the fall, one from TCU, one from Georgia. But, yeah, so that's just an indication of, like, the unknowns that you talk about, Matt. And the way that I think you could probably, again, frame it up from 10,000 feet is, there's really no middle ground. That's why it's so hard to judge this team going into the year until you see it. You've got, question marks that are legit question marks on one side, stuff you haven't seen. But on the other side, the opposite end of the spectrum, you got a very veteran team. I don't mean just seniors, but like loaded down with redshirt seniors, grad seniors. 7 of your top 8 offensive linemen are seniors and grad seniors. It's just like your quarterback's a senior. So all these veterans, you have 8 home games. Your schedule is easier than it was a year ago. You see what I'm saying? So, you got stuff on both sides of the scale, and nobody's really going to know how this is going to shake out until we start playing football.
Let me ask about Will Rogers and the offense and kind of what that's going to look like. The air raid, Matt, you correct me if the air raid's gone. So
gone.
What is the offense going to look like?
It's going to look a lot like everybody else's offense, and that is tight splits with your linemen, zone run scheme, gap scheme, zone scheme, some wide zone, chance for quarterback to read it, pull it, lots of play action, 95% shotgun, lots of pistol with single back, mostly single back. But I say mostly because there will be 2 back, and it's, zone run scheme, play action off of it, try to create big plays. You will run the ball more. Defenses will look against you the same way they do against everybody else, which wasn't the case in the air raid, right? So Will Rogers, to what you're bringing up there, he will see more people nearer to the line of scrimmage more often than he has at any point in his career as a quarterback. Air raid moves people away from the line of scrimmage. They're always dropping. And so it's going to be a little bit of a different look for him. It's an opportunity for him. And let me tell you, the kid's good. He's really accurate. He's very smart. I've always felt like Will is a little bit of a late bloomer physically because, really, certainly his first 3 years in college, he's still a little skinny, just hadn't kind of still look like a high school kid. He's starting to fill out, put on weight now. He's starting to, you have to shave and, all that stuff, looking a little bit older. And so it's really suited him well, Armstrong. And so most of those air raid quarterbacks, they didn't get a chance to shed that label until after college. It's an opportunity for him to go do it in what could be his final year, at least one of his final 2 years. And he's been really good in fall camp. He is the unquestioned leader of that offense. And I think, one big thing for State this year is they got to keep him healthy.
Matt, you play the position at the SEC level at Mississippi State. How easy, difficult is it to transition from something like the air raid to a more traditional offense in the SEC?
I think those transitions are easier now than they really, have ever been. Here's what I mean, Matt. Like, he's not going under center much. People have said, okay, well, he's going to turn his back to the defense for the first time. No, not really. I mean, 25 years ago we were running inside lead right and left every other play, right, and reversing out as a quarterback. And, the old Peyton Manning where he hid the ball in his stomach and he's got his back to the defense. No, he's not doing that. There may be the occasional short yardage goal line play where you're under center, but he's in a gun, same formation stuff. And the only difference for him, again, in terms of making the transition is you could go three things. One, you're going to have more run plays called from the sideline. That's new for him. But in terms of transitioning for a quarterback, how hard is that? It's just about getting used to handing it off and calling more run plays than pass plays. Okay, so that's not really a tough transition for a QB. The other thing is, how do you utilize a tight end, and how is he utilizing the offense you're throwing it to him? And then the third thing is the occasional that you are asked to call things at the line of scrimmage. Every quarterback in every system, if the terminology is different, you got to be able to handle the line of scrimmage. Well, one thing about the air raid offense is he was always calling everything at the line of scrimmage. That's one thing that you do as an air raid QB. So it's kind of a luxury for Barbay in his first year as an OC to have a QB who has no issues checking, calling at the line of scrimmage, and you got all these veteran O-linemen who've been through it too. So they've got some built-in advantages there. It's just a matter of repping it until you can be confident in it. And let's be honest, Matt, until you've done it against a live opponent in a different jersey, it's practice reps, but the game reps are what really get you going. And so, we'll see if they make that jump from week 1 to week 2.
Matt Wyatt's with us for a couple more minutes, host of the Matt Wyatt Show, affiliates throughout Mississippi. Catch him on Twitter at Radio Wyatt. You can get the podcast. He's got a YouTube channel as well. Matt does a ton of media. You trust me. Type in Matt's name, you can find his stuff. I want to ask about pass catch. Look, Ra Thomas was the leading receiver a year ago. He's now at Georgia. Yeah. There were like 9 guys last year who had at least 30 catches, clearly a product of what they like to do under Mike Leach. Are there enough weapons offensively to supplement what Will Rogers is doing there?
Yeah, and Matt, what I honestly believe is the issue now is how do you get the ball to everybody you want to play? Now, it sounds weird, right, because you're distributing the ball, throwing it around in that air raid system. But in this, what you've got is probably your best position group offensively is your running back room. It's a really good running back room with the Penn State transfer in there. They got 4 guys who've really been good in practice, but Woody Marks is the guy. But how do you get carries and touches for all those guys, along with, your top 3 pass catchers are Justin Robinson, the receiver from Georgia, who was your MVP of the bowl game, big tall kid. Tulu Griffin, who's moved into the slot. He's your preseason All-American special teams return guy. He's a real electric return guy. They move into the slot. And Xavier Thomas, who's a kid from Louisiana, who's another electric guy in the slot. So how are you going to get them all the ball? I think that's the deal when you're going into the year not really knowing for sure, from practice to the game, who's going to carry it over. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
you know what Woody Marks is, but we got some of these other guys. We really need to see them with the lights on in Davis Wade Stadium to know what they are. And once they figure that out, they'll kind of get into a rotation and getting everybody to football. But I know those guys, Robinson on the outside, Tulu Griffin in the slot, and Marks in the backfield, that's who's going to touch the ball a lot.
Matt, a little short on time. I wanted to ask about defense, but then I also wanted to ask sort of like a vibe check and what they feel is realistic. I mean, Zach Arnett's back. It's still his defense, right? I mean, how do they look on that side of the ball?
They're very good, except you got new faces at safety. You got to find one corner, right, because you lose a first-rounder in Emmanuel Forbes. They do have another draft pick corner who's playing for him, DeCamry Richard, big, tall, long guy. But their front seven is very good and very veteran. They have the top 2 returning tacklers in the SEC in their linebacker group. They're a little better defensively, especially up front, than they get credit for, and there's no turnover there on that side of the ball. So it's a matter of keeping them healthy. They keep those linebackers healthy, they're going to be pretty good defensively.
In a vibe check, what's a realistic expectation around Starkville for Zach Arnett's first squad?
Yeah, you're not winning the West. It's not this year. Some of those other rosters have separated from you. You know, Georgia's, the Alabamas, even to a degree the LSU's. But it's a team full of veterans with 8 home games. They are going to beat somebody they're not supposed to. State does it every year.
Yeah.
They're always underpredicted. The hype machine never follows State. We understand that if that's where you are. 8 home games, bunch of seniors on both sides of the ball. They're going to be better than people expect them to be. And what that number is, man, it's the SEC West. You're going to get somebody, but somebody's going to get you. So, you know, if you're in that 8, you were at 9 wins last year. If you're in that 8-9 this year in year 1 under Arnett, I'd consider that positive.
He is Matt Wyatt, former Mississippi State quarterback, on Twitter at Radio Wyatt. Y'all give him a follow. You can follow Matt Wyatt Show there all over the state of Mississippi, and check out his YouTube channel as well. Matt, always great to chat with you, man. We'll visit soon.
Yeah, my pleasure, Matt. Thanks.
Okay, man. Be well. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge, Ambassador Caffery in Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. It's pretty simple. I tell you about it all the time, but it's also something that I know a lot of people just don't know a lot about until you go through the process. But every one of us ages. As we age, our body produces less of the hormones that contribute to how we feel. Hormone replacement therapy is something that it's just a supplement. It's a supplement to get you back to normal levels, which help you feel like you did when you were younger. A lot of vitality like you did when you're younger. You can burn fat. You can build muscle. You have more energy. You sleep better at night. So many great things. Simple blood test can let you know if you're a candidate. The Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. Theantiagingclinics.com. Okay, it's After Further Review. We're glad to have you aboard with us here. Now, thanks to Maddy Hudak. He was here in hour 1. We talked a little Saints. By the way, there was a little more news around the New Orleans Saints. Linebacker Ryan Connolly apparently suffered a knee injury, which Dennis Allen described as significant. So we'll get to that coming up after the top of the hour as we look at what happened in Saints practice day with DA meeting with reporters. So we'll get to that coming up after the top of the hour. Break. When we come back, Muso will have Tigers and the Pros. Glad you're here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. You can always get on by and see our friends over at Rouse's, locations all over, not only Louisiana, but the Gulf South. You can find the location nearest you. You can get the weekly ad right there. The newest location open in Houma on Martin Luther King Boulevard in Houma. So those down there listening in the Bayou region, we appreciate y'all so much. Big salute. Check out our friends at Rouse's in Houma. Looking forward. I'll actually be with a lot of my friends at Rouse's on Thursday down in New Orleans. Looking forward to catching up with all of our friends over there. It's been a great partnership and a great relationship. We shop at Rouse's. We encourage you to do the very same. If it's making groceries like they've been helping people do for 6 decades in our state, or you want that catering dish, that sampler platter, whatever it may be, fruit and veggie tray, they got you for all that, for all of your parties. They got a florist, they got a bakery, they got everything you need. It's Rouse's. It's the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Download the Rouse's app. Your personal shopper can help you out as well. Rouse's.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2. Glad to have you hanging out with us here. SportsCenter's coming up in less than 10 minutes from right now. Right now, Muso has Tigers in the Pro.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now. Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, where Baton Rouge gets engaged.
Start on the diamond. Alex Bregman had himself one heck of a night in Houston. 3 for 3 for Bregman. 19th double of the season. The other two knocked singles. Did drive in a run, scored a couple of runs to go along with the 3 for 3 night. Walked twice, on base 5 times. Alex Bregman in the Astros' victory last night over Boston. Aaron Nola.
Kelly Ha!
Shove piece last night for
really?
Aaron Nola. Oh, really? And run support out the yin-yang from the Phillies. 7 innings for Nola, just 2 earned runs, punched out 5. Got the win. That's win number 11 on the year. Threw 100 pitches on the dot. 68 of them for strikes. And the Phillies scored 10 runs. All in all, pretty good night to be Aaron Nola.
Save some of that for the sequel.
We'll wrap things up. Heading back to track and field. Javon Harrison, better known as Mr. Jumps, the former LSU Tiger. 7 feet, 8.75 inches. 2.36 meters for those of you who like the metric system.
Yes, the conversion, important. Thank you.
Earns him a silver medal at the World Championships in Budapest. For what it's worth, the 2.36 meters passed the world mark, and he still didn't win the gold medal. Coming into the event, he was the number 1 ranked high jumper in the world. just fell a little bit short, but the Olympics next year, definitely in sights for Mr. Jump. So congratulations to Javon Harrison. That's Tigers in the Pros.
Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, where you always get the Lee Michaels experience. Gentlemen, no matter your budget, go see our friends at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Thinking about popping the question, they'll take care of you. 2 locations in Baton Rouge, corporate in Bocage, and in the Mall of Louisiana. Shreveport, New Orleans, and Lafayette as well. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com. Thrill her with a gift in the red box from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Again, lmfj.com. You probably heard that Michigan is going to self-impose a 3-game ban for Jim Harbaugh. Pete Thamel was on College Football Live and was asked if there's more coming from the NCAA here for Harbaugh after the self-imposed 3-game ban.
We still need to play out the NCAA process, Victoria, and that Committee on Infractions is notoriously a long and tortured process. So we won't get a final decision from the NCAA until I would guess months. I would say at least 6 or 7 months before that process goes through. So again, now they still have to go through the process, adjudicate the case, and then on the other end, the NCAA will almost inevitably have more for Michigan and Jim Harbaugh.
So what will that look like? Will the 3-game ban satisfy the NCAA? That's Michigan's hope. For whatever it's worth, East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, those are the first 3 games. So Jim Harbaugh is not actually going to be missed. And then week 4, by the way, is at home against Rutgers. So, yeah, I think Michigan's going to be just fine. It's almost like LSU self-imposing a bowl ban during the COVID season when they were 5-5. But sometimes that will satisfy the NCAA. All right, Sports Center's coming up. Big Saints injury we'll talk about next.
AFR.
Love telling you about South Point Volkswagen. I'm passionate about South Point Volkswagen because I love the line of vehicles, and I'm so happy every day to be able to endorse the people as well at South Point Volkswagen. You know, of course, we're talking about 9 different IIHS top safety picks, highest safety designation you can get. The great German engineering that are manufactured at their Chattanooga, Tennessee plant. So you're buying the great German engineering. You're supporting American jobs. A great local company. South Point is our largest volume Volkswagen dealer in the state. Of course, if you're in Lafayette, they got Southwest Volkswagen as well. But, man, you walk into South Point and you see Kelly, you see Mr. Bill, you see Mr. Bob. I mean, you see Brad and all the guys and gals I've told you about for years over here. It's just a great, great place to go have a car buying experience. It's our friends over at South Point Volkswagen. SouthPointVW.com. Shop them online. Check them out today at South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction?
I'm Chris Nakamoto, and here's what I'm working on for my stories on WBRZ Channel 2 tonight. Cattle farmers just north of Baton Rouge are ringing alarm bells, afraid that this excessive drought could put them out of business. As costs skyrocket, pastures are drying up. Hear from one who says in the 85 years they've been in business, they've never been this concerned about going out of business. I'm Chris Nakamoto from WBRZ. Watch more tonight on WBRZ Channel 2.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news, slugger Mike Trout set to return to the Angels lineup tonight versus the Reds. LA went 16-22 in the 38 games he missed with a fractured left hamate bone. In that span, LA's fallen to 9 games out of the final AL wildcard spot as Shohei Ohtani's free agency looms. Baker Mayfield's QB1 in Tampa Bay. Buccaneers announced that Mayfield won the starting job over Kyle Trask. Mayfield prevailed in part because of his starting experience. The Bucs are Mayfield's 4th team since being drafted 1st overall in 2018. ESPN's Damian Woody.
I can only imagine what Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are thinking going from Brady to Baker Mayfield. And I just look at the situation as, yes, we know what Baker Mayfield is. We got a big body of work on Baker Mayfield. He's a guy that, since coming into the league, he's been one of the guys that's turned the ball over the most of any quarterback in the National Football League.
The father of Titans cornerback Caleb Farley has died in an explosion that destroyed the NFL player's North Carolina home and left another person injured. The blast has been ruled accidental.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride.
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us at AFR. Powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Yusu. And Mr. Toby Humpley. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. I do want to. Got a lot of NFL stuff in this hour. Brian Kelly set to meet with reporters in about 30 minutes from right now. Tigers are back on the practice field today, and but it was an afternoon, evening practice, so they're kind of more into game week. School started on Monday out at LSU. So instead of the morning fall camp practice, remember, fall camp ended on Saturday with that scrimmage. So now they're into what would be a normal game week. So school during the day, practice in the late afternoon, evening. So Tigers practicing, and Brian Kelly set to meet with reporters in about 30 minutes from right now. If they're on time and he meets with reporters before we're off air, we'll certainly let you know any news, notes, tidbits that we need to hear from BK meeting with the media. So that's coming up a bit later. Just before we went to the top of the hour, there was a little bit of news as Dennis Allen was meeting with reporters after today's workout down in New Orleans. And it's unfortunate news for a guy who was trying to make this team and was actually playing pretty well through a couple of preseason games. Dennis Allen announced that Ryan Connolly has had a pretty significant knee injury, his word, pretty significant knee injury, and was not at practice today. He also noted Darrell Williams left practice with a groin injury, and Brian Edwards has been waived. So some of Demario Davis, Andrus Peat, both participated, which is good, and they do expect Jimmy Graham back at practice on Wednesday. So some things that are progressing right there with the roster. But the Connolly injury is disappointing because it's at a position where you continue to kind of look around and say, okay, where is that depth going to factor in? Your starters are Demario Davis, Pete Werner. Great to see Demario Davis back at practice. Jalen Smith you signed, and he's that next guy. He's number 3. You look around, though, and you kind of say, okay, well, where is the rest of that depth going to come from? We've talked about Zach Bond. We've talked about Ryan Connolly. We've talked about DeMarco Jackson. We talked about Ty Summers. We talked about Nephi Sewell. Well, you probably only have room on the roster for one more guy. Maybe 2, depending on how the final roster shakes out. But Ryan Connolly is one of those guys in the first preseason game, was very active, deflected a pass, nearly intercepted it, was active in run defense as well. He's a 27-year-old. He's been in the NFL since 2019 when he was drafted in round 5, coming out of Wisconsin. We've seen him play for Minnesota. And he was drafted by the Giants and then in 2019 played for the Giants. In the last 3 years has been in Minnesota. He signed with the Saints this offseason. So Connolly was one of those guys who had been playing well and might have pushed to earn a roster spot, but with a significant knee injury, I think that's clearly unlikely at this point. So, what direction do you go now? And it kind of falls in line with something I wanted to talk about because I got a text on the show text line from a gentleman named Michael M. I won't say his last name in case he doesn't want me to put it out there, but he asked, and I'll read the text for you directly. He said, Matt, why do you keep talking about the Saints preseason 53-man roster? The last 3 spots are people you'll rarely ever see play. Now, I think a lot of you know the answer to that, but something I've learned in this business over the years is none of us lives in a vacuum. None of us lives on an island. If somebody's thinking it, there are other people thinking it as well. And I admit, my hands in the air, like I am a preseason nerd in the sense, not that I'm sitting here like watching every team's preseason football games, but I do like to watch the preseason games and all the training camp practices to see who's going to win those roster spots. Like, we know who the roster locks are, and generally when you go into a camp, it's 3 to 6 spots that are up for grabs, depending on maybe how stable an organization is and how steady a roster is. But the reason it matters is because everybody on an NFL Sunday plays. Everybody. You're allowed a 53-man roster, and on game days, 48 of your 53 players are active. So that means you got 5 guys that are on the 53-man roster that are a healthy scratch. But you only have 48 guys dressed out on game day that are available to you. So every single person plays. You have your starting 22, but think about it. Even if you're not a starter, you're very likely in on special teams units. And if anybody goes down, you're in. So that's why those roster spots are so valuable. I think about a guy like JT Gray. JT Gray has been an all-pro for the New Orleans Saints as a special teamer. Last season, JT Gray played 310 special team snaps. He is on every special teams unit. He is a critical player. So the value that he has in that roster spot. But JT Gray is also a safety. So last year, look, Tyrann Mathieu started every game, but you had a lot of injury issues with Marcus May a year ago. Well, if Tyrann Mathieu has to come off the field and Marcus May is already not there and you're deep into your depth and someone has to come off, well, who goes on? JT Gray goes on the field. He's your safety. I think about a guy like Marquez Callaway, who is an undrafted rookie free agent who made the team as a wide receiver. Think about a year ago. Michael Thomas was coming back off an injury. You go sign Jarvis Landry. You draft Chris Olave. You're going, where is Marquez Callaway really going to fit in? Well, he was your kick returner and your punt returner. But then Michael Thomas gets hurt. Jarvis Landry gets hurt. Remember, Chris Olave had a concussion. Well, all of a sudden, Marquez Callaway becomes a much more important factor. he's got to be a guy that you trust on Sunday can go in there and play. So every roster spot matters so much because whenever someone makes the team, and if they're active on game day, it's got to be somebody who you feel confident that, like, the old next man up mentality. I know it's cliched, but man, if Calvin Throckmorton is your 6th offensive lineman and Andrus Peat goes down, Throckmorton's got to go in and play, and you can't miss a beat. Like, the whole offensive system can't dissolve because you're missing one guy. It's the biggest difference, I would say, between a college roster and the NFL roster, aside from the fact that everybody in the NFL is a player. But my point being, in college, you have 85 guys. But there is no ability once the season starts to go sign a free agent. Like, I get all the transfer portal and people say college is free agency. But when the season starts, your roster is what it is. If somebody is hurt, you can't go add somebody else. Your roster is what it is. In the NFL, during a week, you can always go sign a free agent, mix, match, however you have to do it. But those 53 roster spots and the 48 that are active on game day are precious. Even like the backup quarterback generally is your holder. So, yeah, I mean, every single spot matters. It's why there's so much attention focused. So the reason that this year for New Orleans in particular is even more interesting is because typically you don't keep a third quarterback. Typically you've got 2 quarterbacks. Now, the NFL is changing the rule this year to allow for an emergency quarterback to be dressed on game day. The problem, though, is they still have to be on the 53-man roster. So they can dress on game day if you have a third quarterback, an emergency quarterback, and they don't count toward your game day actives. So essentially you can have a 49th dressed player, but they can only play if your first 2 quarterbacks are unable to play. It's essentially because of what happened in the NFC Championship game with San Francisco. Brock Purdy got hurt. Their first 2 quarterbacks get hurt, and all of a sudden you're playing a running back or a receiver at quarterback in the NFC Championship game. So that's why they did it. But the point is to have that emergency quarterback, that he's still got to be on the 53. So you're keeping a third quarterback on the 53-man roster, which means that's 1 fewer roster spot for a position player you would normally keep. So you look at something like we talk so much about tight ends because of Jimmy Graham. Is there really a spot for a 4th tight end? Juwan Johnson is, I think, super underrated. Foster Moreau is making the team, and Taysom Hill's a tight end. Are you really going to keep Jimmy Graham? Do you where? That's, in my mind, that's a luxury. What you really need is you better make sure you got an extra linebacker. Like, a lot of people have asked about Nico Lalos, who had 3 sacks this last weekend. Well, you got Cam Jordan, Carl Granderson are your starters. You got Peyton Turner, who's making the team, and Isaiah Foskey, who's a 2nd-round pick, who's making the team. Can you keep a 5th defensive end on a team where you're already going to keep a 3rd quarterback? Because you're not going to make Jake Haener available to be signed from the practice squad to somebody else's active roster where they do have a roster spot that they could, assign for a 3rd quarterback. So this year more than ever, because you're going to be keeping a 3rd quarterback on your roster, it matters so much what those last 51, 52, 53 roster spots are. So it's disappointing with Ryan Connolly's injury today because I think he was a guy that probably could have pushed to be a backup linebacker and a special teamer, but it opens the door for other guys. Maybe that opens the door for Zach Bond, for DeMarco Jackson. Maybe it's Nephi Sewell or Anthony Orji, who had a really good first preseason game in the win against Kansas City. But Ryan Connolly's injury, while unfortunate, seems to clear the deck anyway a bit. It lightens the deck anyway there at linebacker. So Ryan Connolly injury, Dennis Allen says it's significant. Maybe he's destined for IR, and we'll see if there's an opportunity for him next season. That's presumptive, but we'll see. So, okay, it's after further review. You can always text the show, 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. You can email me. You can tweet or X the show.
Hey, Twitter. Oh, no, not Twitter. Hey, X World.
It's at Matt Moscona. That's where you can get us. All right, it's after further review. We're brought to you by Hudco Roofing. Had a great meeting with all of our Hudco partners earlier today. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com, commercial, residential. A couple of things. Number one, we're still seeing a ton of people who had hail damage as a result of those storms in West Baton Rouge a couple of weeks ago. Maybe by now your insurance adjuster's been out, you got your scope of work, your paperwork, boom, we're ready to roll. You have that, pick your shingle color, we can be roofing in a couple of days. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. But remember, commercial buildings, Hudco offers a silicone coating product, which is roughly half the price of a re-roof of a commercial building, and it comes with a 20-year warranty. I mean, if you got a commercial building and you got some issues, you need to call Hudco to ask about this. Roughly half the price and a 20-year warranty on this silicone coating product that Hudco offers. So, as I always say, if it's commercial or residential, do business with someone you know that's us. That's Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Go to the website, HudcoRoofing.com. Hudco services the entire state of Louisiana. So no matter wherever you are in Louisiana, you can hear my voice, Hudco will come to you. Hudco Roofing and HudcoRoofing.com. All right, it is after further review. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back and we'll get some of your calls, texts, emails, tweets, all that good stuff. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on the Jonathan Taylor situation in Indianapolis is interesting to the extent that the Saints play the Colts this year, but I think it also speaks further about running backs in particular because the Saints have an expensive one in Alvin Kamara and potentially this situation in the years to come with Kendre Miller. So I do want to weigh in on that a little bit. And again, Brian Kelly set to meet with reporters in about 15 minutes. Stay with us here. It's AFR.
AFR.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Corvell Toyota in Opelousas, you can lease a new Toyota 4Runner for $489 per month. That's right, you can get a brand new Toyota 4Runner for only $489 per month. So come on down to Happy Town. That's Corvell Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Hey, quick reminder, again, a week from yesterday, we're giving away the Garth Brooks tickets, courtesy of our friends at Mockler Beverage and Bud Light. 2 sweet tickets to watch Garth in the Dome. We'll announce the winner on Monday, a week from yesterday, this coming Monday. So get your submissions in. It's called Friends in Low Places. All you got to do is make a video, 60 seconds or less. Your friends in low places, get creative with it. Have Garth in it, have a Bud Light in it, or Bud Lights in it, and send it to us. Tag Mockler, tag me, tag 1045 ESPN, and we'll pick a winner. Just get creative, have some fun. Win a pair of sweet tickets to watch Garth Brooks in the Dome on September the 2nd. Courtesy of our friends at Mockler Beverage and Bud Light. Drink easy in Louisiana, the official beer of the LSU Tigers, the New Orleans Saints, and the Southern Jags. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because talking about like an Indianapolis Colts running back probably isn't going to hit home for many of you here, but I think there's a little bit of relevance here because the Saints do play the Colts, and I think the Saints are going to go through a situation like this, potentially with Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller. So there's some relevancy here. I'm not focusing necessarily on Jonathan Taylor and the Colts. This is a bigger picture conversation about running backs. If you haven't heard the news, all-pro running back Jonathan Taylor has been granted permission by the Indianapolis Colts to seek a trade. The long story short is Taylor's going into the final year of his rookie contract. He wants a new deal. Jim Irsay and the Colts won't give him a new deal. And so now he was holding out. They've said, good, go seek a trade. Go see if you can find a trade partner. And look, Taylor's 24 years old. He had a surgically repaired right ankle this last year. 2 years ago, with 1,800 yards, he was the NFL's rushing champ. So young guy, has been super productive. He's coming off an injury, wants a new contract. Team won't give it to him. And so now they're like, yeah, okay, go find a trading partner. Then let us know what you get. First of all, this is super smart by Indianapolis because there is no team that is going to give Indianapolis the assets it will want for Jonathan Taylor, which is reportedly a first-round pick or an accumulation of picks that would be the equivalent to a first-rounder. For example, the Christian McCaffrey deal a year ago, the Niners sent a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5 to Carolina for Christian McCaffrey. You want to send a boatload of picks to Indy? They'll talk. But even if you send them those picks, then you got to sign Jonathan Taylor to a new contract, which I just don't see it happening. So if you're Indy, you say, okay, you want the deal? Go find someone who's going to give you that deal. And if you find it, come on back, and we'll talk and try to work out a trade. Not going to do that. So Jonathan Taylor's going to lose all leverage, and so he'll either play under his current contract or sign a new contract that's a lesser deal. Likely what'll happen is you play under the last year of your rookie deal, and then next year, the Colts will franchise tag him. And the franchise tag for running backs this year was over $10 million. I keep hearing, by the way, the Saints play the Colts in Indianapolis on week 8. That's huge for New Orleans if Jonathan Taylor isn't there. If maybe the teams do work out a trade, if the Colts do find a trading partner for Jonathan Taylor, one potential landing spot might be Minnesota. Obviously, Dalvin Cook isn't there anymore. That division's not very good. Minnesota may look at this as an open door to say, before Justin Fields gets good, Aaron Rodgers is gone. Detroit is the real challenger there, maybe even the front runner. But if you're Minnesota, you look and say, this is our window, let's go. So maybe that would make sense. But what are they willing to give up when they wouldn't even sign Dalvin Cook? So different conversation. Anyway, so it's huge for New Orleans, week 8. The game's in Indy. If you go there and you're playing a rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson, and there's no Jonathan Taylor, all Indy has left there at running back is Zach Moss, who's got 1,282 career rushing yards. Deion Jackson, who's got 267 career rushing yards, and Evan Hull. That's the depth of the running back room behind Jonathan Taylor. So if the Colts get rid of Jonathan Taylor, that offense is going to stink. And I'm really good with New Orleans going up there week 8 against that team. But I keep hearing all the time about how running backs are being devalued. Running backs in the NFL aren't being devalued. Old and injured running backs in the NFL are being devalued. That's the problem. I get it. Jonathan Taylor's 24. He's young, but he's coming off an ankle injury. If you're the Indianapolis Colts, let him play the 2023 season to see if he's healthy. Then next year, either sign him to a new contract. If you can't agree to one, franchise tag him. And then pay him $10 million, which is not a small amount for a running back. You'd be willing to pay the franchise tag number. You're just not going to sign a running back to a long-term deal. 10 years ago, in 2013, there were no running backs taken in round one. A year later, 2014, there were no running backs taken in round one. We have seen a shift. Since then, Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, Zeke, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, Sony Michel, Josh Jacobs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, all first-round picks. Teams are willing to invest into young running backs on rookie contracts. What they're not willing to invest in are aging running backs who are certain to break down when they get into their late 20s and right at the age of 30. We see it with every one of the guys on the list. Just check them off. Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, Zeke, Fournette. I mean, look at what's happened. Just start at the bottom and work your way up that list. Yeah, I'll invest a first-round pick in a running back, and I'll get 5 really good years and maybe even a 6 on a franchise tag. What I'm not going to do is pay an outsized number for a guy approaching 30 years old when this position has proven they fall off a cliff. So, yeah, I'll invest short-term in a running back. I'll invest draft capital in a really good running back. And I'm going to squeeze that orange and get all the juice out of it I can until it stops being productive. So I don't buy the whole the NFL doesn't value running backs. Oh, the NFL values running backs. The Atlanta Falcons used the 8th overall pick for Bijan Robinson. Zeke was the 4th pick. Fournette was the 4th pick. Christian McCaffrey was the 8th pick. The NFL will value running backs. They're just not going to value when you get old and injured. And I don't blame them. So if you're the Saints, you look at that and you go, all right, well, you drafted Kendre Miller. That was round 3. So you're only going to get 4 years, right? You don't have the 5th year, being that he's, that you would get with a first-round draft pick. So you got to decide by year 3 if that's somebody that you're going to want to extend. Now, thankfully, he's a guy that was not overused during his time at TCU, which is fantastic to see. He had about 300 career carries in 3 seasons at TCU. There's a lot of tread on the tire still there. You make that decision coming up, though, in about 3 years. Young guy, 21 years old. After 3 years, he'll be 24, as old as Jonathan Taylor is now. Are you willing to make a longer-term investment in that player? You make that decision in 3 years. And honestly, had Jonathan Taylor not had his ankle surgically repaired, he probably would have that deal. But if you're Indianapolis, I get it. A position where players are, their careers are shortening. This very productive young guy is coming off a really serious injury where his ankle was surgically repaired. And you expect me to make a long-term investment into a declining position with a player who's coming off a serious injury? In what world does that make business sense? As weird as Jim Irsay is, I get it. I'm with him on this. So, Jonathan Taylor, go play this season. Probably play next year under the franchise tag. Make as much money as you can in a short amount of time and understand that's your lot in life. And mamas, if you got kids that play running back, make them play linebacker. All right, it's after further review. We're glad you're with us. We're brought to you by Relief Windows, reliefwindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank and vinyl siding. They do it all over at Relief Windows. And not only that, but now as well, interior shutters. Remember, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. Relief Windows services all 3 states, so much of the Gulf South. But they are now offering indoor shutters. Man, they are gorgeous. It's superior quality. It'll increase your home's insulation, keeping your home and making your home more energy efficient. They're beautiful. That will increase your home's resale value. Their shutters are custom made. They're installed by the Relief Windows team. This isn't something that's subbed out. It is their in-home team, their in-home products. It ensures a beautiful product and an easy process from start to finish. That's Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and interior shutters as well at Relief Windows. Yes, of course, they are windows, door, siding, but at Relief Windows, like we always say, they are also experience, quality, and service. That's Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. All right, y'all. It is After Further Review. Been a really good show. Thanks for being here with us today. We get to Otterlocks in about 15 minutes from right now. Jimmy nailed it. Hey, how did he do in his baseball pick? Do we know? Did you check it?
I don't remember who it was. Was it Seattle? I don't remember. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't play it, so I don't remember. If it were Seattle, they won 14-2. Did you play it?
No.
Uh-oh.
I don't think it was Seattle. I'm looking at the starting pitchers because I feel like I would remember if I looked at the starting pitchers. Anyway, maybe it was. I don't think it was Seattle, but maybe it was. But the Otter did hit. Who were the starting pitchers in that game? Pull up the box score. That may tell me.
Castillo and Toussaint.
That was the decision, but that doesn't mean that's who the starter.
No, I'm looking at the box score. Those were the starters.
Okay. I don't think that was the pitching matchup that he mentioned. But anyway, whatever. We'll see. But the big news is that the Otter yesterday hit on the Washington Commanders, breaking the Baltimore Ravens' 24-game preseason winning streak. Spanned 7 years. For the Otter to call his shot on a streak that had lasted 7 years. That's like, remember when the UConn women hadn't lost a game in like 3 years, like 150 games, whatever it was, and then they lost in the Final Four. Wasn't it to Mississippi State? They lost to Mississippi State, and then State lost the national championship game.
It was to Mississippi State, yes.
Yeah, like that. It's like that. Calling your shot on that kind of winning streak. So good on the Otter, man. Throw the bouquet. Hey, whenever he swings and misses, and we talk about him with his Del Mar curse on all his baseball picks, if we're going to throw dirt where it's warranted, you got to give the bouquets where they're warranted. My guy called his shot last night on what was an auto bet for a lot of handicappers. So good on the Otter last night for that one.
I think it just shows, too, just how excited you should be that football season is coming with Otter's picks, because we've mentioned it plenty. They were awesome on his show last year, and he still got it, man. Baseball, but the football picks from Otter.
Yeah, for those that don't know, like, Jimmy, if you are a sports bettor, I seriously, like, all joking aside, highly recommend that you're listening to Jimmy during the week, and then also Jimmy Ott's Football Sunday show, because he does what he calls his cappers recap. So over the course of the week, he gets all these professional handicappers to give him their best bet of the week. And so then on Sundays, he rolls it all into one piece of, like, production where, you know, I don't know, a handful of handicappers give him their best bet of the entire week for the NFL. And they were something incredible. Hit it like a 70% clip last year. It was absurd. Like, nobody does that in sports betting, but they just absolutely crushed it. So, yeah, I mean, if I would just, again, PSA, highly recommend, make sure that you're catching Ott each week during the football season, because his group of handicappers do incredible work. All right, it's After Further Review. We'll knock out a quick break. We will get to the Otter in less than 15 minutes from right now. Brian Kelly set to meet with reporters shortly. Stay with us here at AFR.
AFR.
Love telling you about the Renaissance Hotel right there on Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge. When LSU is hosting a home football game this year, the Tigers, they'll be staying on Friday nights at the Renaissance Hotel. That change happened when Brian Kelly came in, wanted some more meeting space, needed a bigger block of rooms. They were accommodating, like we always say. At the Renaissance, they're in the business of saying yes for whatever reason you may need. If it's a giant football team and organization, you're moving into a hotel for a night, or maybe you want to have your wedding reception. Maybe it's a fundraiser for your charity. Maybe it's an awards banquet. Maybe it's a board meeting for a dozen associates or so, and you need something that's interactive and has all the technology you need, that's quaint and comfortable and also elegant. The Renaissance Hotel can host you. Remember, Tallulah, the restaurant inside the Renaissance Hotel, casual, upscale dining, great for that business lunch or a great night out on the town. It's the Renaissance Hotel right there on Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile. on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Amy, any word yet if Brian Kelly has started meeting with reporters?
He's late. He's not there yet.
Okay. Tigers had practice today. Again, just sort of to kind of recap, fall camp ended on Saturday with the scrimmage, and so now school started at LSU on Monday, and so now they're into the, I mean, obviously you're not going to practice while the guys are in class, so you practice in the afternoon, evening hours. So Brian Kelly meeting with reporters. And then, so next week, LSU gets into full-on game week. So Monday will be, this coming Monday, will be the first Brian Kelly press conference. So Monday around noon. And then Thursday will be the first Brian Kelly show, which will be Thursdays, as they were last year as well. So just kind of start to get toward game week and how it's going to look. A lot of our stuff is going to be similar. One unfortunate thing here on the show is Cole Kubelik won't be back with us this fall. He's got some news coming that I can't share, but that's exciting stuff for Cole, who's just, you know, growing and doing awesome things in media, and we're excited for Cole. So we're not going to have Cole with us on Mondays this fall, but I did talk to Russ Mitchell today. Russ is back on Wednesdays. Sean Salisbury on Tuesdays. Why are you laughing? Like, I actually had no idea.
I mean, because it's Russ, and he's just he's a beauty.
Oh, I thought just because you weren't actually a believer that Russ was going to.
Oh, I mean, no, that part too, but mainly just because Russ is a beauty.
Russ is a beauty, and Russ is looking forward to being here on Wednesdays to kick tires, live fires, all that stuff. Of course, Phil Steele will be with us on our Fridays. Our football Fridays begin next week, so I am really excited about delving and jumping feet first into football season. So we were kind of hoping that we would be able to share what Brian Kelly was talking about with reporters with us right now, but as you mentioned, BK, they're coming off the practice field a little late, so be on the lookout, I would imagine, the next half hour or so for a lot of updates from Brian Kelly's media availability. I think if I'm, and I obviously won't be there because I'm here whenever he meets with reporters, I will be most interested to hear an update on Sage Ryan. And I know I've been asked that a bunch, and I've asked and pried a little bit and haven't gotten anything too specific about the severity of the injury to Sage Ryan, which I guess could be a really good thing. But watching that scrimmage on Saturday and with Sage Ryan going down, especially after he had been starting, I guess there's two parts of this. One, it's an update on his condition. Two, I want to know what the impetus was behind starting Sage Ryan at cornerback in that scrimmage. I guess one thing that I do want to reiterate, make sure that people understand, is in a scrimmage, you have the luxury of tinkering. It's still fall camp. So, putting Lance Hurd in at right tackle to run some reps with the ones and kicking Emory Jones inside, that's the time when you do it. It's an opportunity to look at it, to see how it looks and how it may play out. Maybe it doesn't go well. Same with putting Sage Ryan at cornerback. But a big part of that I would also submit is that the need to tinker, the need to try that, I think does in some respects point to what a lot of us consider as a lack of depth at corner. When you feel like you need to try different bodies there, it kind of speaks to the lack of confidence that you have in the guys at that position. So I'm very curious to hear that from Brian Kelly. And then, I want to know an update on the running backs because I don't want to continue to harp on this too much, but Caleb Jackson's day Saturday in Tiger Stadium, although it was only 3 touches, it was just different. The 2 touchdowns he scored, even the 9-yard run. The 9-yard run preceded the 18-yard touchdown run. He got the ball in back-to-back plays. And the 9-yard run was just, it was just a power. It was just a base handoff between the tackles. The guy just boom, boom, bowling balled his way forward for 9 yards. So physically, there's no doubt Caleb Jackson is ready. I just look and I also say, but you know what Josh Williams is, you know what Logan Diggs is, and he didn't come to sit. Armani Goodwin also missed the scrimmage as well. So where does that put Caleb Jackson in the pecking order when those guys are healthy? And in my opinion, at best, it puts him at 3rd behind Josh Williams, Logan Diggs. But remember, Noah Cain took the first rep with the first team in the scrimmage. That's not even counting a senior in John Emery, who ran with the 3s. So you got depth there. Caleb Jackson certainly proved he warrants attempts when LSU plays Florida State. How many at what point in the game? I think that'll be interesting to see as well. By the way, this is what, if you missed it, Brian Kelly a couple weeks ago talked about Caleb Jackson and the job he had done so far in fall camp when he met with reporters.
He's big, he's physical, he's strong, but he's raw. And so a lot of the work with Caleb is ball security, low pads, the nuances of the game, which, when you have a physical, I don't want to use the word, but just a guy that has that kind of prowess at the position, those are good things to work on, right? We don't have to worry about some of the other things. So it's just the details with him.
He catches on quickly, man. That's one of those things where you could see a freshman running back start to pop off. It's deep, but if this is a true meritocracy where the best is going to play, you go give that dude an opportunity. Yes, it's true that on Saturday when we were watching them scrimmage, he was running with the 2. So he was scrimmaging against the second-team defense. But, boy, it was obvious who stood out. So that was really, really encouraging to see. All right, it's after further review. We're glad you're with us here. We're going to get to OtterLocks. Of course, you want to bet along with OtterLocks all season long. You do it at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. By the way, it's week 0. Oh, my God. Every passing second, we are that much closer to college football. Saturday, week 0. You've got SEC football, kind of, with Vanderbilt hosting Hawaii. I will be just vegging on the couch all day watching football for week 0. You got Navy Notre Dame out in Dublin, which is no doubt the marquee, the name on the marquee. You get to watch a top 10 team in Southern Cal taking on San Jose State. This Thursday, actually, we don't have to wait till Saturday. Oh, no, it's next Thursday. It's Florida, Utah. But anyway, man, the fact that we're going to get to see college football this weekend is super exciting. So you want to bet on it, you can do so at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code Baton Rouge. If you're a new customer with the promo code Baton Rouge, you make a $5 college football bet. Week 0, money line, prop bet, Heisman, future, playoff, whatever. $5 college football bet. They'll give you $200 in bonus bets instantly at the DraftKings Sportsbook. So again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. New customers, use the promo code Baton Rouge. Use the promo code Baton Rouge. One word. Make a $5 college football bet. They'll give you $200 in bonus bets instantly only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. 21 and older, physically present in Louisiana. Select parishes only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football. Terms. License partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-426-2537. All right, we will get to the Otter for Otter Locks coming up here just after the break. We're glad to have you hanging aboard with us here. If you missed anything, Maddy Hudak was here in hour number 1. Larry Holder was here in hour number 2. By the way, a lot of you are aware of this, that Larry and I have a 3-year standing bet about Kyle Trask. Today, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have named Baker Mayfield their starter. Larry came on the show. He refuses to concede that he lost the bet. Caleb Blunt said, this is all via text, Larry said he'd be a consistent starter by year 3. He will not be consistent. The wide receiver for the Broncos started a game. Others started 6 in a row, never did it. You definitely win this, in my opinion. Thank you. Christopher Villery said that's why you always start off with small bets with new people you bet. If you lose and pay up, you're not a man of your word. He said, I almost beat someone's behind for $20. My father-in-law said let it go. He'll never ask you for money again and will try to avoid you. That was complicated. Dan,
$20 is $20, though.
Dan Juno said Larry Holder, picker of nits, isn't a nitpicker. Jacob Veed said, Matt, I'd stop making bets if everyone's backing out on you. Richard Talley said a consistent starter would be 1 year to the next. Larry loses. Trey Simmons said, bro, you and Larry got me cracking up in my car. TK said Trash barely started in college or high school. He's never been a consistent starter in his life. Shane Gorondona said Larry is the new Dwayne 2.0. Ben Buller said, remember when people were comparing Trask to Burrow? That actually happened.
LOL.
That actually happened in 2020.
That did.
With that Florida offense. Oh, my goodness. Anyway. Yeah, so basically, despite the fact that most people on social media who comment about the show, just because it's the nature of social media, do so to disagree with me or crap on me, even these people are agreeing with me on the Larry Holder bet. So disappointing. Okay, it's after further review. Final break. Otter Locks next.
AFR.
Brought to you by ProCharge EV, ProChargeEV.com. Always encourage you to start there, ProChargeEV.com. This is a local company, Baton Rouge-based. They actually have contracts to service the entire Gulf South. So even if you're outside of Louisiana, anywhere in the Gulf South, that's ProCharge's territory for these electric vehicle chargers. They've got inventory in stock. You want an EV charger in the ground? They can make it happen. They've got a master electrician as well on staff to be able to install this flawlessly for you. I'll tell you, like I say every single day, if you own a business, you have got to have an electric vehicle charger at your business. It's an amenity for your customers. It can be an amenity for your employees. It can be a revenue generator passively as people tap to pay. Learn more at ProChargeEV.com. There are so many different grants and other federal monies there for you as well. Learn more. ProChargeEV.com. ProChargeEV.com.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Down the stretch we come, final segment here on a Tuesday edition of AFR, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana, where they recently announced their newest NIL deal with LSU sophomore tight end Mason Taylor. So, I love it. Oh, is that the one we wanted? Was Mason Taylor?
Yeah, it was Chris Fowler right there.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was.
It's just on the same button bar as the band
Got
right
it.
now.
Mason Taylor. Yeah, shout out, man. So Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Harold Perkins, Mason Taylor. There's another one I know they're going to announce. They're going to announce really soon. I'm going to like that a lot. I'm going to like that too much. All right, shout out to Sunshine. Great people. Thrilled to be partnered with them. And they're our title sponsor every single Tuesday. You want a John Deere in Louisiana? You're calling Sunshine. All right, one thing left to do. Find out. Oh, I am late. Find out what we're betting on tonight. Time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks, presented by Lofton Staffing Services. At Lofton, we put people to work. Call us today at 924-0200 or go to lofton.jobs.
Otter, congrats. 2-0 night last night, including calling your shot, ending a 24-game win streak by the Baltimore Ravens in the preseason. It's got to feel good. Thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing good. Took some luck. I was expecting to be treated rudely after a 2-0 night.
No, look,
yeah.
hey, that's what I said. If I'm going to throw dirt when you lose, I'm going to throw bouquets when you win. And last night was a great night.
Yeah, well, you recap Thursday. But anyway, let's get to it. We're running late. Baltimore, Toronto, two of the hottest pitchers in baseball. They're no household names, but they've been hot. Kikuchi for Toronto, Gonzalez for Baltimore, under 8. Camden Yards used to be a hitting-friendly park until they renovated it this year. It is tough to hit it out the left field. Under 8 in Baltimore, Toronto. Atlanta got drilled last night. They've also lost on Sunday. Looking to bounce back on the run line, -1.5. Elder also bounced back in his last start, -1.5, -108. And the game that's being same pitching matchup, supposed to be last night, It was rained out in Anaheim, but Ashcraft against Giolito, I mean, he has been on fire. Take Cincinnati plus $1.38. I found. I don't think it's quite that high on the plus side at DraftKings.
130 is what I'm looking at right now with Ashcraft. Yep.
No, still
1 minute remaining.
So
All right.
Cincinnati plus money, Atlanta minus the run line, Baltimore, Toronto under 8.
All right. Where are you tomorrow, Otter?
We're at Roca Pizzeria.
Oh,
man.
nice. Very good.
Indeed. Yes,
Roca's a
indeed.
great spot, man. Mid-City, Baton Rouge, they've done awesome stuff right there on Government, the whole Mid-City
I
location.
love getting the pizza and putting it under Charlie and Max's son. I get it like 25 seconds before they finally just got to put their headset down and take the piece of pizza. I love doing that.
Let's be honest, Otter. You're just munching that pizza while you're on air. You
Well,
eat on
yeah.
air every day. We all
Yeah,
hear
you-
you eating on air.
I know. It's just easy to pass the buck. You know?
Otter, thank you. Have a great day. We'll see you.
See you, man.
All right. That'll do it for us here on a Tuesday edition of AFR. You miss anything, AFR On Demand, presented by Breck Golf. Book your teatimegolf.breck.org. Muse, Paulie, I appreciate it. BK meeting with the media here this evening. We'll have the full recap tomorrow. We'll look for you then on AFR.
AFR.
All right, we're getting on down the road. Let me remind you about Mold Zero USA. Final little reminder here. Mold Zero USA. Boy, they've been a great partner of ours here. Mold-0USA.com. Yes, I know it has been unseasonably dry, but anytime there is any amount of water, and then when you throw in the heat and humidity, breeding ground for mold. But not just mold. Other harmful pathogens, viruses, bacteria that causes odor. Mold Zero can knock out all of that. Check them out online at mold-0USA.com. I always encourage you to go to the website because this is something I would imagine most people don't know a lot about, but it's a patented dry fog treatment. You can read the full U.S. Army Corps of Engineers report if you care to. You can see testimonials. You can see pictures of the work they do, but it's simple. The fog gets in every nook and cranny. It kills all the different harmful pathogens, makes your home office building completely safe. It's Mold Zero. Mold-0USA.com.
At Corval Toyota in Opelousas, you can lease a new Toyota Camry for $489 per month. That's right, you can get a brand new Toyota Camry for only $489 per month. So come on down to Happy Town. That's Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like Hudco, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office